Hello, folks. We're going to be diving into another fairy tale comparison. Started off with Snow White, looking at the original version that was written back in the 1800s with the modern version that Disney did, and that launched into The Little Mermaid and now Beauty and the Beast. And during those videos, I had communication, was very happy to have communication with Eliza, who is a subject matter expert, as you will, on fairy tales, especially the older ones. It wasn't just Disney, right? Like you were into the original stories long before the Disney versions even came out.
Yeah, that's right. I love them. They're just timeless for a reason. So,
And I think that's worth. It's an interesting you said that, because we have heard opinions otherwise that things that came out in, say, 1937, they're very much a product of their time, which is kind of the antithesis of saying that something is timeless, which I find is interesting. But I agree with your assessment myself. In fact, probably more relevant.
I'd say they wish they weren't timeless. I think they're trying to change the timelessness of them, but they are still timeless.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. They do not want them to be timeless. But and you had some very, part of the reason why we decided to do this collaboration was because you had some very, like, you didn't express it necessarily, but you were just like, you were very excited. It was like, I have thoughts. Like this is a can of worms that I've been looking to get into.
It's so fun because, like, I love to rant about these things, but it's nice to find a fellow ranter to who understands. I'm like, yes, there's a lot to be said about this. A lot to be said.
Yes. Yeah. And so so this is just the quick backstory on it. Technically, the original, at least my understanding is that there has been some form of this fairy tale, like going back quite some time, just in its vaguest, the idea of a hideous guy being, what was it? There's some hair growth defect apparently that some guy in France actually had. It's a real thing. You hear about the bearded lady and all that. It's actually a real thing, and so you can have almost your entire. It's like werewolf syndrome is the translation of it, where you actually, or wolf syndrome or something, where it's actually an abnormal amount of facial hair or facial growth all over the body where it normally wouldn't be. And so apparently that's where the origins of it. But the very, very first story was Gabrielle Suzanne de Villeneuve in 1740. But that story was incredibly long, like really super long. Like there were 6 brothers, 6 sisters, and a whole bunch of complicated things before and after. So the version that the one that you found, the one that you're most familiar with, the one that I actually read, is this one here. When did you first read this? This was 1756, so it's 16 years after the longer version. This is a much more condensed, easier one. When did you first read this?
Gosh, in childhood at some point, probably maybe 8 or 9 years old, something like that.
No kidding.
Yeah. My parents gave me a lot of old stories, which I really appreciated. Like, I liked with the Little Mermaid you were talking about. It's really wordy, and it's like, that was the fun of it. There's so much colorful language in these stories. But they just kept giving me just more complicated stories to read. Like, not just, I mean, these days they're very simplified kids stories. You'll find these fairy tales very dumbed down, and it's like, no. Let's talk about God and eternal souls and virtues and what that all means. That's kind of really important to it. So yeah. I'm glad they gave me those stories.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because there is that, I don't know if you call it stigma, but there's that perception that the older fairy tales, they're too terrifying, they're too grotesque or whatever. But it's like, but yet, like, they weren't being read they weren't written by adults. For adults, they were written for the children, and the children didn't, like, at 9 years old you read this and it wasn't like traumatic. I mean, maybe this isn't the quintessential, because I think there's really only one thing in here that kind of would send shivers down my spine a little bit. I don't know if they like, when you heard it, what were your impressions at that age? Like, did anything stand out? Was anything terrifying to you? Was anything like that resonated? Like, what was the standout from it? If you can recall, like, your impressions from it.
I think, like, children, I worked with children for 15 years back in the day, and they have a very like black and white kind of view. Like there's good and there's evil, and there's kind of consequences for your actions. So it feels very natural to have these consequences and these
Hmm.
things that happen. Like in Snow White, the queen having to dance until she dies. It's like
Right.
that's full on. That's a full
Mm.
on thing. But it made sense because she was like trying to murder this innocent girl. So you're like, well, yeah. You kind of
Right.
just accept it. I don't know if that's like because children look to authority figures, and so like I guess a story given to them is kind of like an authority figure, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can see why that would be a thing. Although in this
Mm.
one, no spoilers, but yeah, the ending seemed very apt for that particular consequence. Seemed like okay, there's a way out of it, but you're gonna have to. Mm,
And to me, so, and we'll get to that. So again, it will tap into, I
no
guess, a little bit
spoilers.
of theology, but I thought that was very, yeah. But I'm excited because when I saw that, I was like, holy cow, because that's something that I think has been lost in, well, yeah, we'll get to it. So yeah, stay tuned
Yeah,
to the very end to
yeah.
get to this very juicy bit.
It'll be in like 5 hours. We'll get to that. Don't worry.
Right. It is definitely, and just folks, just so you know, so we arrived promptly at the time that we'd scheduled to do this video call. Both of us a few
Mhm,
minutes early, in fact,
mhm.
and we're just now getting started in this almost 45, well, almost 50 minutes later, just because of video and audio and all this other like one technology failing us after another before we finally got here. So I just want you to appreciate that this is actually still being done for you. That we went through 45 minutes of grueling modern technology to bring this to
Mhm.
you. So,
Dedication. We are dedicated. All right.
right, exactly. This was going to happen, dagnabbit.
Yes.
All right, so I will minimize the movie here thing. Okay, so we got the story full screen. So we're reading the same one. We're going to go ahead and we'll kind of alternate since it's a very robust story, and then we'll kind of dissect as we go, paragraph to paragraph. If you would like to lead us off with the first one, I'd be much obliged.
Nice. Okay. Beauty and the Beast. I'm going to be British for my reading.
Splendid.
Splendid. There was once a very rich merchant who had 6 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters. Being a man of sense, he spared no cost for their education, but gave them all kinds of masters. His daughters were extremely handsome, especially the youngest. When she was little, everybody admired her and called her the Little Beauty, so that, as she grew up, she still went by the name of Beauty, which made her sisters very jealous. The youngest, as she was handsome, was also better than her sisters. I've got to stop there.
Mm,
That sentence, like, that just means she's as handsome inside as outside, pretty much.
yes.
That took me a few minutes to go, what does that mean? Yes. The 2 eldest had a great deal of pride because they were rich. They gave themselves ridiculous airs and would not visit other merchants' daughters, nor keep company with any but persons of quality. They went out every day upon parties of pleasure, balls, plays, concerts, etc., and laughed at their younger sister because she spent the greatest part of her time in reading good books. Good books. We'll get
Right,
more
they
into that.
specified.
Mm-hmm. I have so much to say. Okay, anyway. As it was known as it was known that they were to have great fortunes, several eminent merchants made their addresses to them. But the 2 eldest said they would never marry, unless they could meet with a duke or an earl at least. Beauty very civilly thanked them that courted her, and told them she was too young yet to marry, but chose to stay with her father a few years longer. Hmm.
Hot dig. All right, so you like you said, there's already some stuff to launch into there.
Yes.
Um,
Like, yeah, good books is so important. Good books. It's yeah. Mm, not
now,
rereading the same ones and childlike versions of them. Anyway, I don't know
what? And,
what
yeah, no, go
do we
ahead. Go
get
ahead.
that now or do we read the story first?
Um,
Should we probably
you would move a little forward, I guess, and then,
yes.
well, no,
Okay, cool.
yeah, but I think it's good to flag that though. You know, she read good
Yes,
books.
put a pin in it.
Um,
We'll
right,
put pins
exactly.
in things. Okay.
Since that's the entire first third of the Disney movie, pretty
Yeah.
much. Oh, dag nabbit. Okay, this is a chunk. All right.
Yeah.
I feel like I should do it in a British accent, but it's not going to sound as good, so I won't try there. um,
Just try a different accent.
all right.
No,
Well,
no, it's okay.
maybe if I get into it enough there, I can.
Hmm.
Well, maybe I'll try. Well, yeah, I don't want to offend anybody's sensibilities of accents there.
Hmm.
But, all at once, the merchant lost his whole fortune, excepting a small country house at a great distance from town, and told his children, with tears in his eyes, they must go there. Most? I think it's a typo. But they must go there to work for their living. The two eldest answered that they would not leave the town, for they had several lovers who they were sure would be glad to have them, though they had no fortune. But in this they were mistaken, for their lovers slighted and forsook them in their poverty. As they were not beloved on account of their pride, everybody said, they do not deserve to be pitied. We are glad to see their pride humbled. Let them go and give themselves quality airs in milking the cows and minding their dairy. But, added they, we are so extremely concerned for beauty. She was such a charming, sweet-tempered creature, spoke so kindly to poor people, and was of such an affable, obliging disposition. Nay, several gentlemen would have married her, though they knew she had not a penny, but she told them she could not think of leaving her poor father in his misfortunes, but was determined to go along with him into the country to comfort and attend him. Poor Beauty at first was sadly grieved for the loss of her fortune, but, she said to herself, were I to cry ever so much, that would not make things better. I must try to make myself happy without a fortune. When they came to their country house, the merchant and his 3 sons applied themselves to husbandry and tillage, and Beauty rose at 4 a.m. and made haste to have the house clean and breakfast ready for the family. In the beginning she found it very difficult, for she had not been used to work as a servant, but in less than 2 months she grew stronger and healthier than ever. After she had done her work, she read, played on the harpsichord, or else sung whilst she spun. On the contrary, her 2 sisters did not know how to spend their time. They got up at 10 and did nothing but saunter about the whole day, lamenting the loss of their fine clothes and acquaintance. Do but see our sister, said they one to another. What a poor, stupid, mean-spirited creature she is, to be contented with such an unhappy situation. The good merchant was of a quite different opinion. He knew very well that Beauty outshone her sisters in her person as well as her mind, and admired her humility, industry, and patience. For her sisters not only left her all the work of the house to do, but insulted her every moment. Okay. This is a trend in these stories here, that this one aspect that has gotten under my skin a little bit. Well, I shouldn't say get under my skin. I'm perplexed by it. Mm-hmm. On almost every story, it's a single father. And that father, though he technically exists in the story, does nothing to stop injustices or tragedies or anything else from happening. We have Snow White had a king. He was not killed off in the original story. He was there, and yet the queen could, send her off to be killed. Now, I think they only had that one interaction where she just said, "Hey, go out with the huntsman," and so I guess she just told the king she ran off and she must have died or something. But like here, we've got a father who understands, who knows very well that the sisters are being abusive and cruel and lazy, and he does absolutely nothing about it. Like, you're the father, you're the protector, you are the head of the household. Why are you not saying, you need to get your butts up at 7 a.m. It's knock it off, treating your sister this way. It's a very, like, he's not oblivious to it. It's not like he's working so hard that he doesn't know. He's very, very much aware that this abuse is going on and that she's being mistreated, and yet there's no disciplinary action or measures taken towards the sisters. And I was like, why is it like Disney? That was the one thing they did. They gave Triton, the king, an actual presence in the story. And I would say, even though they probably overdid it in terms of, oh, well, one less human, that's great. Like they kind of went overboard with his animus towards humans. At least he was a present father. These just seem to be hapless. Like, they're just kind of like, wow, what can I do? I'm just the dad. I don't know if that was something.
No, I really appreciate that, because it is an ongoing trend. And in some of the Cinderella stories, the father's still alive as well, and it's just like, how can you let this happen to this, like, your most treasured child? Apparently the one you see is so lovely and so good, and it's like, okay, where are you? Where are you? Yeah.
And you would think, well, so now, but you were nodding though, so there was something else in this, I think, that was what kind of had drawn your focus.
I I just love Beauty. She's so
Mhm.
lovely. Like she just um no matter what situation she finds herself in, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to do my best. And it's hard for me. And yeah, it's a challenge. I'm not used to it, but I'm going to give it a go. And yeah, she gets stronger as a result and she's healthier. And it sounds like she really loves it. And at the end of the day, she has time to read or play or spin, which is also helpful.
Mhm.
And it's just, and then having to do all that and also put up with these sisters doing that to her, it's just, oh. She's a strong female character.
Right. Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that expression, but she's not a hashtag strong female character. She's an actual. She's got strength there, and it's really admirable.
Right. And it's interesting. So I in a different time, I've taken issue with the idea of like an aspirational quote unquote hero, just because it seems like they're aspirational in a aspirational world. Like only when the world contrives to allow them to be aspirational can they actually be aspirational. Otherwise, they have to make choices that make them less than aspirational. But here, I think we have an instance where she is aspirational in a way that can be achieved. You can have the idea of, you know what, complaining is not going to do anything. It says she mourned, you know, she was bummed out about the money. She's not just like completely
Yeah,
oblivious and like, oh, who needs money? I can just live a happy, like she took it hard, but she understood that it didn't do any good to moan about it the entire time. This is reality. I need to be productive. And so I think this is an attainable, it is still aspirational in that, I mean, she is embodying like the best of the best qualities, like, you know, and that's not to say this is very biblical in the sense that there's so much happening within this time period that you don't know about. So, you know, in biblical passage, it'll say, you know, and then he trusted the Lord and blah, blah, blah. But it's like there was maybe like 6 months where, or like Noah in the ark, he's building the thing for hundreds of years. There probably was definitely times where you sit down at the table going, I don't know, babe, this probably is not a great idea. There's no freaking
yeah,
water. So we don't know how much she actually struggled within these lines, you know, to before she came to these conclusions. But the fact is, she got there,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. That's
um,
so true. That's a good point because yeah, it does say yeah, she's sadly grieved at the loss. So there is a. It's almost like again thinking about Disney's Snow White when she has the moment in the forest and she is scared and she is like, and then it was right after she apologizes. I'm so sorry for the fuss I made. Like, it's like, okay, let's get up and keep going. And it's like, you're allowed to have those moments and they're important
mhm.
moments. You like, don't repress it. You've got to feel it and go through your situation. But, you know, then be able to get up and keep going is, I think that's the bit that everyone can achieve.
Yes,
It's a good role model in that way. And there is as well, like, she could have married out of it. You know, there were people who would have married her and taken her away from it. She's like, no, that's not the right thing to do. I'm too young. I want to stay with my father, and so I'm going to do this to, yeah, do the right thing. So
yeah,
there's a lot in there. I think, yeah, there's a lot in there.
and
It's
I
not
think
like, yeah.
okay.
Oh, sorry. It's not just, oh, look, I'm so great, and look at my life. It's so great. It's like, yeah, I'm dealing with what I have to deal with. Yeah.
And I think that's the key to her being able to transition because it mentions what we're told her sisters are very prideful, and it's that
Mm,
pride, that loss of status that they're more grieving. Not, you know, it's oh, I want the finer things, and because it was tied directly into their self-worth and their pride, that it makes it impossible for them to lament it or not to lament it forever because that's what they were wrapped up in. Whereas she was very humble. She, you know, she talked with poor people. She didn't have anywhere to fall. Like I don't think for her it was a
mm,
fall. It was you lose the comfort, you lose things. Any human being is going to enjoy those, but her personality was not based on it. It was not affected by them. So there was much of a less adaptation for her to make. It was just, I'm
mm.
still me, just with less things,
Yeah.
not to
Yeah.
her detriment.
Yeah. I agree with that. And
Uh,
I liked where was it? Oh, wherever it is. Yeah, the people who like already knew the sisters saying, yeah, well, they don't deserve to be pitied because we're glad to see their pride humbled, just like everyone knew. But like, yeah, yeah.
Oh, there was and so we start comparing and contrasting this original take of Belle versus, and we had talked about this a little bit in the comment section between the difference between this and Belle at the beginning of the Disney movie, where my gripe
Mm,
is, you're talking you're singing disparagingly about people just making a living. Oh, the baker with his bread like always, or the with the tray like always, the same old bread and loaves to sell.
Yeah.
And it's like you walk around reading, and the people even say with their nose stuck in a book. And at the very, very end, this is like, I feel like it's an extension of the Ariel, the 90s princess syndrome, where Ariel was like, I want more. She literally said her song, her outcoming song of affirmation was, I want more than what I have.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful song, but like, it's still very, give me more things. I want more from this. Not, I want to do more. I just want to have more. I want to see and experience other things. Belle, the same things. At the very end of her song, I'm trying to remember, she says, wouldn't it be grand that someone that they would understand? I want so much more than they've got planned.
Yeah.
Again, I want so much more. And here, as a direct contradiction, she is serving. Like we had a conversation about a short one about having a servant's heart. Like the whole thing is she's doing the chores. She is doing the work, and that alone is a career. Like she's not, I mean, like you said, she has that reprieve at the at the end of the day, or she has time to do other things, but she's working her butt off to keep the house going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm getting robot voice here. What is this? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, come on, Discord. Really, I there was a part of me thinking, you know what? We had so much trouble getting here. I can't believe that the stuff is going to stop once we. All right. Let me. We're going to disconnect, but then hopefully pop right back in. Let me see if that helps. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Haha.
All right.
That's
Sweet.
better. Haha.
All right. Let's pop out. There we go. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So.
Good. All right.
All right.
Yay, technology.
Yeah. You see what we have to put up with, folks. Goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm. So I want to say, yeah, she's like disparaging the baker, but she's gonna eat the bread.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whereas in this story, she's making bread. There's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's that?
No, you go. I'm sorry. I was like, should we continue? But no.
Oh, yeah. No, it was just, it's just, I mean, I would almost go so far as to say, like, at least at this point, we have beauty is the anti-Belle. Like this is the opposite of kind of an entitlement of I want a give me more. This is I'm okay with what I've got. And in fact, I'm choosing a provincial life. I'm choosing this humble life with my father and this house over the opulence of so much more than what they've got planned. It's like she's turning that down. And I think that makes that it just makes her character so much more admirable as when you find out what she's going through. That this isn't what she's wanted. She's not pursuing this. It's stuff that is happening. It's actually continuing to be her good nature and the good choices that she makes that end up kind of putting her in better and better situations. Not necessarily obviously initially, but getting there. But yeah, it's just. So now let me ask you, just out of curiosity, before we go in, like, I mean, did you? So you mentioned, like, obviously you liked like both stories for each thing. So, and I think one of your key points that you brought up was that the Belle in the Disney version, you could argue, learned. So, do you see that as kind of an advantaged way to start her, like the way they did in there, because it does give her an arc to go on?
Yeah, it makes sense for a movie. It's sad that people don't see the arc. It's really disappointing. Yeah, particularly in the remake, she just starts where she ends. Which the remake. Okay, no, no. But yeah, I think a character arc is a good choice for her. And particularly like using the story, like at the very beginning when she goes to the is he a librarian or a bookseller? I guess a bookkeeper. Anyway, whatever, the guy with the books. She chooses to read again the Beauty and the Beast story That's the book she chooses because it's her favorite. And so she's
Mm.
reading this childlike version of it. It's a very, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's this version, but she's reading a version that is very simple. Like, yeah, she meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3. Like, it's all very simple and easy. And yeah, this is what I want. I want this life. And then, okay, you want that? You're gonna have to go through it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
part that she has to realize. So I'm not sure where I was going with that.
No, no. I
But
mean,
yeah, yeah.
that was very like you said, like you're saying, because that we talk about adaptations, and that was something a lot of people I think have because of Lord of the Rings and how popular that ended up being. People understanding when you say adapting something from a written work to a movie, you want to be taking taking advantage of the visuals, and you need those arcs that in a story like for children you don't necessarily need that. This is just this is event, this is event, this is event. Whereas in a movie you need to have that ideally you want to have the flaws and the problems and everything else. I do wonder though, is it feasible if you have your, I mean, so I don't know what the song is called, but the whole "I Want Much More Than This Provincial Life" song. I
It's
wonder
called Belle.
because
It's
called
literally
what?
called Belle.
Belle. Oh, there we
Belle.
go.
It's all about Belle.
In various well, that's the thing. So do you think there's a way, like, is it fine as it is? Because like you said, a lot of people don't understand that there is an arc or see it as a problem. I'm wondering, can you have a thematic song that introduces the character? Like, do you think that when they say, when the townspeople are saying, there she goes with her nose stuck in a book, kind of, that she's in another world, that is a very gentle way of kind of informing the audience that, she's got some room to grow? Because I never got that as a kid. I always thought, oh, the townspeople are just jerks. They're just boring people. Like when I saw it as a child, I just thought Belle's awesome and these people are just boring. But then again, as an adult and you actually hear what's being said, can you be more overt about it and not make the heroine out to be a piece of poop? Or do you kind of have to, I don't know. I just don't know if there's a different way to do it to make that more obvious.
Yeah, it's really tricky, isn't it? Particularly with like a Disney princess. Like, like, I mean, we're getting ahead of it, but like she does break her promise. She does make a promise to save her father and immediately break it when he yells at her, and he yells at her because she breaks the one rule that he has, and and she runs out of the castle saying, "Promise or no promise, I can't stay here another minute." And it's like, so it's there, but it's just people miss it. I don't know, like, and when after he's rescued her from the wolves, I think, and they're having that argument, that should have been the moment where she kind of acknowledges it a bit more. I think that's where it's missed because, like, you shouldn't have been in the West Wing. Well, you should have learned to control your temper. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And it's like, but I wouldn't have been angry if you hadn't done that. Can you acknowledge that? Just a moment of her going, yeah, sorry, it would have been nice.
Right. I don't think it's so much what the characters do, it's how the story treats them. And
yeah,
that's
you're
exactly
right.
your point. So it's the fact she got the last word in, and the whole moral of that was you need, and we already have the temper thing. He had an entire lecture. I went back and watched the movie earlier today. It's like they lecture him on the little pots and everything, and Lemire and all that. They already tell him, hey, you've got a bad temper. He already has this instance where let's point out, like, she's, like you said, we are getting a little bit ahead, but she's. Yeah. Like the whole thing is you're supposed to be a prisoner. Like you're supposed to be in the dungeon where your dad was. Like that was the original deal. That's what you signed up for. I'm taking my father's place. That was the bargain that was made. Whether it was good or not, whether it was right that it got there, you said, I'll take his place. The fact that you're sitting in a bedroom, you've got all this stuff, you've got the lay of the castle, and he's like, please come to dinner. And you're like, no. It's like, what you're supposed to be. So that was used as a whole thing. Oh, beast, you've got to control your temper. I'm like, and yeah, and in that case, you can say, okay, he may not be happy about it. I mean, you'd kind of think as saying, hey, I'm giving you all this freedom, I would like some company as well, is not some exploitive, horrible thing. But you could say him getting that angry is not necessarily justified. So we get that whole lecture already. We get that defect in his character already about the rage and all that, then go ahead and starve. We see that. So this was kind of to your point. This was where that was where we needed to see Belle going, okay, I did do wrong. I broke the one rule you gave me. It's like Garden of Eden. You all this entire reign of the world, and one thing you told me not to do, I did it. But it's your fault because you got mad. Let's just glaze over the disobedience and the. Yeah. All right.
That's so true. And it's like he's animated in a way where he is acknowledging his anger. Like when he yells at her about the rose and she runs away, you see him like collapse, like, oh no, why did I do that? Like you see him acknowledge it.
I'm
Whereas
gonna
with
bring
her, oh cool.
that.
Yeah, like, and they took that out of the remake, which
Did they really?
Yeah, he just yells at her and then she runs away and he's like, yeah, whatever.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
I know, it's terrible.
Let's see. So I know you can't see this right now, but he looks around and he just has that. What have I done? I totally screwed up. Yeah. Yep.
He's beautiful. I love the Beast. I love his journey. I think he's probably my favorite Disney prince, I think. Just because he has such an interesting arc. And I wish there was more for Belle that wasn't like sheltered, I think. I wish there was more obvious transformation for her too. Like it's there, but it's not as much as his, and I love his. It's wonderful.
Yeah. No, I actually agree. I never thought of that, but I mean, to be fair, most of the other Disney princes, like they talk about, like the shortcomings or the superficiality supposedly of like classic Disney princesses, but like the prince was literally just a guy to show up and in Prince Eric, like look handsome and then save the day. There's not really there's not a personality there per se. I mean, I think Eric had more than a lot of the other princes, but Prince Charming, hey, Snow White, and then I'll pop back in at the end.
And there was supposed to be all this extra stuff with him in the middle, like he was supposed to get captured by the Queen and all this stuff, but they couldn't animate human forms properly. Like even with Snow White, there's a lot of scenes where she's kind of sitting and just doing things. Like they tried to limit human animation. So when it got to Sleeping Beauty with Philip, they tried to add he added a lot more to that character because they could actually animate him. So that's a shame. That's why. It's a shame.
Okay.
But,
well, and technical limitations. I mean, and to be fair, it didn't feel like the story was bereft necessarily. Because as a guy, I don't like. I'm okay if the only like your character is all you are is a protector or a hero or your love interest. I'm okay with that because like that's one aspect, at least for me as a guy, like I'm like that's okay. And it's not my story. It's about Snow White. It's about Cinderella. The prince doesn't need to have a big part. In this one, it's Beauty and the Beast. So it is supposed to be kind of both of them. But in the other ones, it's the princess's story and the prince is a part of it, but it's not a rom-com where we need to see both of their lives, being lived and how they come together. It's her story and how he fits in. But in this one, like you said, the Beast actually does have an arc. He has a lot to do. And, especially like as a guy with him having, when he fights Gaston, like that whole, final act and just being able to be savage in a way that isn't like we see him being savage in the actual story, like with Belle, like he doesn't do anything to her, but we see like his anger and everything. So, but being able to see that actually in a more protective and productive role is like, let the Beast out in certain times.
That's right.
I want you to see the Beast.
Yeah, it's really powerful that moment. Because we want Gaston, like we don't want him to die like that, and the Beast doesn't want him to die, but we want to see him like get away. Like we want to see the Beast protect, and I'm actually now we're talking about like princes kind of being not the main point in someone else's story. I'm wondering like almost in this one like it's the Beast story more, and it's kind of like Belle is the secondary.
Yeah.
I don't know where that thought's going. Maybe that's why they didn't focus so much on her transformation because it was about his transformation. But it's both their transformations. I don't know. It's something I don't know where that thought was going. That's
Well, so I guess that's a really great point, and the question I think it begs is which one is the protagonist? Who's actually driving the story forward? We don't find out until later, but we know what he is trying to do. We know that he's got a curse. He's got a ticking time bomb, which we don't really have. We'll get to ours, but in the original, that element isn't there. But in this film, we know he's got a certain amount of time, and then when the rose wilts, he's done. So he's actively trying to, change his fate, this horrible fate of him being cursed like this forever. Belle, as we heard from her song, she doesn't have a plan for anything. She just wants more. Again, I'm not trying to slam her for that, but it's like, she's not saying, I want to become an inventor. I want to become a dentist. She's not driving anything forward. She's kind of being carried along by the story. He's really the only one with somebody who's trying to accomplish something and being screwed by his own actions, essentially. I think. I don't know, dude. All right. We'll hop back in. Jeez.
okay. Huzzah.
There we go. Oh. Wait. Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right. Yep.
So, what were we talking about? That was really
protagonists who advancing the story, because you made that great point about it may be more Beast's story in some ways.
Yeah, I think it is. Because at the beginning there's the stained glass story where you're introduced to it, and it's all about him. It starts with him and it ends with the stained glass, and she's now included. But it's more his story, which maybe that's why he's my favorite, because it is his story. I think more. Yeah, I think that's why the remake annoys me. Okay, because it's more about Belle in that one. Anyway, okay, but I like that.
I mean, the original story is. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think, because that was the same thing with the original Snow White. I think it was more Queen centric. Snow White wasn't, because there wasn't that through love story. She was just kind of, being carried away, and the Queen was the one. I want to be the prettiest. I want to be the fairest, and so it was how she was going about to achieve that. And there's a lot of going back to her castle, and her eating the lungs and all that kind of stuff. And so, but then the remake switched it. So, the Disney version made it more about Snow White, where the Queen is now trying to stop her from, happily ever after, whether that's Prince or just her living. So here, I think in the original story, it is. I guess I'm asking, what do you? Because you remember the story more than I do. Do you think Belle is more? It's a 50-50 split. Is it more Belle, or is it more Beast, or is the Beast more just enabling the telling of this?
In the original, I think it's more about beauty, because I know, well, from what I've read, it was published in a women's magazine for women to read, and it was kind of about arranged marriages, like when you end up in a house with someone who seems like they're a random beast, but if you look beneath the surface, you might find something else. So I think the original was more for women, about women, and it seems to be that way.
It does put a lot of onus on her, that's for sure.
We should continue it.
Yeah, here we go.
Everyone's like, what are we talking about?
Right? We're almost done with it, folks. We only got another, 12 pages.
Yep.
All right. Fire away.
Okay. Paragraph 3. Here we go. The family had lived about a year in this retirement when the merchant received a letter with an account that a vessel, on board of which he had effects, was safely arrived. This news had liked to have turned the heads of the 2 eldest daughters, who immediately flattered themselves with the hopes of returning to town, for they were quite weary of a country life. And when they saw their father ready to set out, they begged of him to buy them new gowns, caps, rings, and all manner of trifles. But Beauty asked for nothing, for she thought to herself that all the money her father was going to receive would scarce be sufficient to purchase everything her sisters wanted. "What will you have, Beauty?" said her father. "Since you are so kind as to think of me," answered she, "be so kind as to bring me a rose, for as none grow hereabouts, they are a kind of rarity. Not that Beauty cared for a rose, but she asked for something, lest she should be seen by her example to condemn Mrs. Disconduct, who would have said she did it only to look particular. The good man went on his journey, but when he came there, they went to law with him about the merchandise, and after a great deal of trouble and pains to no purpose, he came back as poor as before. Hmm.
It now, just starting off superficial. If I'm not mistaken, this is really the only context in which the rose in the original story is featured. I mean, obviously he does. He ends up it comes into play, but it's not like it is in the Disney version where it's in any way associated with a curse, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really and the rose only just comes up because she doesn't want her sisters to like feel bad. So
Right.
she's like, "Oh, I have to ask for something, so I'm asking for a rose." So it's another kind of yeah. It's interesting how. Oh, we should get to that.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, that was a short paragraph. So if you want to tackle the next one too, that'll
Okay, cool.
that'll work.
He was within 30 miles of his own house, thinking on the pleasure he should have in seeing his children again, when going through a large forest he lost himself. It rained and snowed terribly. Besides, the wind was so high that it threw him twice off his horse. At night coming in, he began to apprehend being either starved to death with cold and hunger, or else devoured by the wolves, whom he heard howling all around him, when, on a sudden, looking through a long walk of trees, he saw a light at some distance, and going on a little farther, perceived it came from a palace, illuminated from top to bottom. The merchant returned, God thanks. What? Oh, sorry. The merchant returned, God thanks for this happy discovery, and hastened to the palace, but was greatly surprised at not meeting with anyone in the outcourts. His horse followed him, and seeing a large stable open, went in, and finding both hay and oats, the poor beast, who was almost famished, fell to eating very heartily. The merchant tied him up to the manger, and walked towards the house, where he saw no one, but entering into a large hall, he found a good fire and a table plentifully set out, with but one cover laid. As he was wet quite through with the rain and snow, he drew near the fire to dry himself. "I hope," said he, "the master of the house, or his servants, will excuse the liberty I take. I suppose it will not be long before some of them appear." Shall we do this next one? He waited
go
a
for that.
considerable time. Yeah, cool. He waited a considerable time till it struck 11, and still nobody came. At last he was so hungry that he could stay no longer, and took a chicken and ate it in 2 mouthfuls, trembling all the while. After this he drank a few glasses of wine, and, growing more courageous, he went out of the hall and crossed through several grand apartments with magnificent furniture, till he came into a chamber which had an exceeding good bed in it. And as he was much fatigued, and it was past midnight, he concluded it was best to shut the door and go to bed. Yeah, so that's all good.
This is like the first time where we actually have like almost scene for scene. It seems like the Disney version mimics this one a little more extravagantly. But now we do have, to Disney's credit, the anthropomorphized candelabra and the clockwork.
Oh yes, we have Lumiere and Cogsworth. Yes.
Yeah. Which are disappointingly absent like that. And usually, like you see, I can't remember specifics, but like in Snow White and Little Mermaid, you'll find these like small references in the original story that they extrapolate on in the bigger one. They do that here with the mirror, which we'll get to, I guess. But I was wondering in the original if there was going to be some reference, some clock that talks, or something that made it Disney think, oh, hey, let's make the inanimate objects alive. But I don't think there's actually anything in this. That's just a complete Disney conjuration, I guess.
Yeah, and a welcome one, I think. Yeah,
yes,
they're great.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'd say go ahead. That's a small one too. Let's go ahead.
Okay. It was 10 the next morning before the merchant waked, and as he was going to rise, he was astonished to see a good suit of clothes in the room of his own, which were quite. Oh, I see, in the room of his own, next to his own clothes. I see. Okay. He
The
was
wording
astonished
is
to see. Yes, I was like, in the room of his own. Okay, so his own bedroom, which were quite spoiled. And okay, right. Yes. He was astonished to see a good suit of clothes in the room of his own, which were quite spoiled. Certainly, said he, this palace belongs to some kind of fairy, or to some kind fairy, who has seen and pitied my distress. He looked through a window, but instead of snow, saw the most delightful arbors, interwoven with the most beautiful flowers that ever were beheld. He then returned to the great hall, where he had supped the night before, and found some chocolate ready made on a little table. Thank you, good Madam Fairy, said he aloud, for being so careful as to provide me a breakfast. I am extremely obliged to you for all your favors.
And so the mint on the pillow was invented.
Yes. That's so funny. Like, yay, chocolate.
And at first I was wondering if when it says belongs to some kind of fairy, if there was some like colloquial reference, like that a fairy was just like a benefactor or, something like that. But he actually says Madam Fairy, in capital letters. So apparently it was just a normal thing. If things are awesome, it must be some magical or mythical being of some kind. And much obliged to you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Fairy did it.
Right? All right. Well, yeah, we're tracking here. Let's see. The good man drank his chocolate and then went to look for his horse. But passing through an arbor of roses, he remembered Beauty's request to him and gathered a branch on which were several. Immediately he heard a great noise and saw such a frightful beast coming towards him that he was ready to faint away. "You are very ungrateful," said the beast to him in a terrible voice. "I have saved your life by receiving you into my castle, and in return you steal my roses, which I value beyond anything in the universe. But you shall die for it. I give you but a quarter of an hour to prepare yourself to say your prayers." The merchant fell on his knees and lifted up both his hands. "My lord," said he, "I beseech you, forgive me. Indeed, I had no intention to offend in gathering a rose for one of my daughters, who desired to bring her one." "My name is not my lord," replied the monster, "but beast. I do not love compliments, not I. I like people should speak as they think, and so do not imagine I am to be moved by any of your flattering speeches. But you say you have got daughters." I should probably say that. "But you say you have got daughters. I will forgive you on condition that one of them will come willingly and suffer for you. Let me have no words, but go about your business and swear that if your daughter refused to die in your stead, you will return within 3 months." The merchant had no mind to sacrifice his daughters to the ugly monster, but he thought in obtaining this respite, he should have the satisfaction of seeing them once more. So he promised upon oath he would return, and the beast told him that he might set out when he pleased. "But," added he, "you shall not depart empty-handed. Go back into the room where you lay, and you will see a great empty chest. Fill it with whatever you like best, and I will send it to your home." And at the same time Beast withdrew. "Well," said the good man to himself, "if I must die, I shall have the comfort, at least, of leaving something to my poor children." This was very perplexing to me. This whole section of the story. Wow. Like very, I mean, so we have the beast going from what we're aware of in the Disney version of you're trespassing. That was his whole beef. And ironically, you're trespassing, so I'm going to lock you in my dungeon where you're perpetually trespassing. So I'm not really sure about the logic behind that.
I'd say with that, the last time someone asked for a place to stay and he said no, he got turned into a beast. So this time he's like, well, you want a place to stay? You could stay forever.
Oh, that's a good point. Never thought of that. Yeah. But yeah, but at least I guess
with his 11-year-old beast brain.
Right.
Logically, this is what I should do then. That's how I look at it.
That's very true. Well, I mean, I guess to that point, it seemed reasonable whether you factor that in or you just go, okay, you're trespassing, you're using my stuff. Obviously the old man's not a squatter or anything, but you're trespassing, and of course we know how protective he is of the West Wing and what's in there, so you can at least understand where this just seems to be like, I can't remember. Does he actually say, "I'm going to eat you"? Is that? Oh, he says die for it.
Yeah.
I think it's later, and not to spoil it, but I think later on he mentions like Beauty thinks she's going to be devoured or something.
Yes, everyone. Yeah, they're thinking he's an actual beast and he's going to eat them.
Yeah, but it's like, so it's just a very interesting contradiction. Like he's very courteous to the good man. He lays out all the stuff, provides for him chocolates and everything. And but he picks the flowers that he would have no way. It wasn't like, you know, with the Bell instance where he's like, you can have anything here, but don't pick the flowers. There's not a sign, you know, don't pick the flowers. It seems innocuous enough, and it's like, for this you must die, and it's like, dude.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't because I'm trying to think like representation, because when there's something that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense on the surface, but I couldn't think of any what do you call it, like underlying, not subtext, but, you know, metaphor, or like what this would represent, what makes this, because the whole idea, I mean, the Beast says, and this feels a little bit on the nose, like he goes through this whole thing, he's, you know, beastie, and then he says I like people should speak as they think and do not imagine I am moved. And it's like, so all of this stuff, but it's like, you know, I just want people to be real with me, you know, but I'm still going to kill you because you picked a rose.
I'm wondering, actually, when you're saying about what it represents, I know in the last paragraph it talks about virginity being part of the curse. Maybe the roses are supposed to represent virginity, and by plucking the flower, you've offended him. Maybe
that could be.
That's all I can think of.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, that's everything, but you've taken the representation of my virtue. I don't know.
Or maybe it's literally, in a manner of speaking, like his necessities were provided for. Like he was given clothes, he was given food, and this is him now taking something that he doesn't need. So it's
true.
Almost like encroaching on his good graces. Not to the point that he should be killed for it, but it's kind of that But well, you know what? And the other thing is the mechanics. Maybe this is the only organic way without them kind of sitting down. Well, my name's Mr. Beast. What's your name? You know, and sitting down and having, you've got daughters. Hey, well, why don't you bring them around?
Great.
This was the only way to really introduce, like, because the flowers are directly tied to Belle, or to Beauty. So it's the only logical way for the Beast to find out that he has a daughter or has daughters. Maybe that's mechanically the reason why.
Maybe it's a MacGuffin.
There you Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm using that correctly.
Well, let's see.
It's just a plot device. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a plot device.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, that's the only, because I was going to say also, like, the whole point for, like, because the status doesn't change. All we find out with his whole, my merchant ship came in. The only thing we find out is that the daughters are still unrepentantly selfish and greedy. He still is willing to oblige them for whatever, instead of saying, hey, look, we're dirt poor. We lost everything. This money's going to go to savings. No. Tell me what you want, girls, and I'll buy them for you. And even Beauty says he's not going to be able to afford all the stuff that they're asking for. So we get more of that character, I guess, which is just being emphasized. But there's really no other point of him going on that trip other than Belle asking for the roses, and then giving him an excuse to end up around the castle, you know, to be waylaid at the castle. So it could just be, like you were saying, it's just a plot device. It's there to connect the dots. What was it?
Yeah.
In the Disney movie, he's got an invention or something that he's transporting.
Yes, he's going to the fair.
That's right.
The Inventors Fair or something, and then they're in the forest, and there's a nicely lighted path in one direction and a dark, spooky path in one direction. And Philippe, the horse, is like, I'm going in the lighted direction. And Maurice is like, no, we're going this way.
Right.
And then we go into the forest. Where have you taken us, Philippe?
Doesn't the horse just kind of gives him are you kidding me?
Like, really?
Very much a Balaam's ass moment right there, where it's I'm taking you away from the giant angel with the sword, and you're getting pissed off at me. But Okay, so yeah, it was just the intersection of which I do find peculiar because obviously it's not that far from the village in either story, but yet nobody seems to have seen it. It seems like people would know about this giant castle.
Yeah, they try to fix that in the remake by making everyone forget about the castle. Um,
Ah,
but I don't know if that works entirely either. That is that I think that's a genuine plot hole. It's
mm.
just yeah, we've just forgotten about our prince. He's disappeared.
Yeah, and I mean
Okay.
you'd be hunting animals and stuff in the forest, so
Yeah, Gaston
people.
should yeah.
Oh,
He should
mm,
know the castle's there.
yeah, I
But
love it.
maybe
Yeah. Oh, good.
maybe it's just a little bit maybe it's because it's in the dark. Maybe that part of the forest is enchanted that people don't go there.
Mm.
I don't know. Who knows? That fairy did it. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably the right answer. She could protection or put. There's a lot of superstition I think back then, so it would be natural. Like we just don't go to that part of the woods because fairies be doing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I should shout out. There's a YouTuber called Novum, Novum. He goes into the superstition about the forest in his witch video. So I
Oh,
just got to
really?
plug it. It's like 8 hours of him talking about the witch movie. So,
Oh,
in there, he
wait.
talks about the forest. I highly
There's a
recommend.
movie called Witch.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's a long story. That's getting off the point. But yeah, I highly recommend. He goes into the whole thing about the forest and all the superstition, and yeah, there'd be witches in there.
That'd
Hmm.
be enough to keep me out, really.
Yeah,
That's.
yeah, that's valid.
All righty. Take it
Okay.
away.
Okay, yes, so he's got his chest. All right. And so this chest as well, it's kind of like a
Hmm.
dowry, I suppose. Is that kind of what he's saying there? Like you fill it up and send me your daughter? And
Well,
kind of
yeah.
that's what I took it to mean.
But well, it's interesting though because he does say if your daughter refused to die
Oh,
in your
yes, then
stead.
you have to come back. Yes, that's true.
So it's still that's what I mean. Like it's a very heavy-handed like kill thing. Like why
Mm,
it just couldn't be, especially at that point. Because I mean, Beast knows at this point. Like his whole thing is I need to get married. Like unless I marry a virgin, I'm screwed. um, so you find out he got daughters. You think he'd laugh, say, you know what? I'll spare your life. I just want your like cohabit. Like I don't know why he would have to, because I mean you're gonna have less of a chance of the guy because he said I'll take you or your daughter. So it's like, did it just seemed like a
yeah,
little
but
bit of
then
a yeah.
but she like when she does come, he doesn't kill her. So it's
Mhm.
almost like he wants a daughter who is willing to make the sacrifice for her father because that's the kind of woman with a heart that he wants. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking there.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's 4D chess right there on Beast part. I didn't give him that
Yeah,
much credit, but
I
that is
think
a
it's footy
good
chess.
call. No, it's great because I mean that does happen a lot of times where it's proving out. In these fairy tales, a lot of it is proving out a character. Same thing with Little Mermaid, where she's like his sister's like, if you kill the prince, you get your life back. So it's a very
Mm,
dire consequence, life and death type thing to test the moral fiber of our heroes and heroines. And yeah,
mm,
so I think you're right. I think that ties directly in where it's
mm,
this is not it's not just, oh, you're going to be a prisoner. No, I'm going to kill you. And are you willing to go to die for your dad? That's a really good call. Yeah,
mm.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
me like phew. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, I did it. I did it for myself. Okay.
Blew my mind.
Blew my mind. Oh my gosh. Okay. He returned to the bedchamber and finding a great quantity of broad pieces of gold. So it's like, oh, great. He filled the great chest the beast had mentioned, locked it, and afterwards took his horse out of the stable, leaving the palace with as much grief as he had entered it with joy. The horse, of his own accord, took one of the roads of the forest, and in a few hours the good man was at home. His children came around him, but instead of receiving their embraces with pleasure, he looked on them, and holding up the branch he had in his hands, he burst into tears. Here, beauty, said he, take these roses, but little do you think how dear they are like to cost your unhappy father. and then related his fateful adventure. Immediately the two eldest set up lamentable outcries and said all manner of ill-natured things to Beauty, who did not cry at all. "Do but see the pride of that little wet wretch," said they. "She would not ask for fine clothes as we did, but no, truly, Miss wanted to distinguish herself, so now she will be the death of our poor father, and yet she does not so much as shed a tear." "Why should I?" answered Beauty. "It would be very needless, for my father shall not suffer upon my account. Since the monster will accept one of his daughters, I will deliver myself up to his fury. And I am very happy in thinking that my death will save my father's life, and be a proof of my tender love for him." "No, sister," said her three brothers, "that shall not be. We will go up to find the monster, and either kill him or perish in the attempt." "Do not imagine any such things, my son," said the merchant. "Beast's power is so great that I have no hopes of your overcoming him. I am charmed with Beauty's kind and generous offer, but I cannot yield to it. I am old, and have not long to live, so can only lose a few years, which I regret for your sakes alone, my dear children." "Indeed, father," said Beauty, "you shall not go to the palace without me. You cannot hinder me from following you." It was no purpose all they could say. Beauty still insisted on setting out for the fine palace, and her sisters were delighted at it, for her virtue and amiable qualities made them envious and jealous. Ooh, last little spiteful thing there.
And I think there's a not a sweet spot, like a progress with stories like this, where you read it as a kid, and like you said, you take it at face value because this is the story. It's an authority, and you're learning it. You get a little bit older, and you read a part like this, and you go, "That's ridiculous. How in the world are the sisters going to be getting angry at her for not asking for something nice?" Or they're bashing her for asking for a rose because now it brought it down. But I think then when you become an adult and you've been living long enough, you go, "No, those people exist. There are people who will actually have spite and animus and such a twisted way of looking at things that they'll actually see your humility as a problem. You should have asked for this, or it's obnoxious, but it's very real, unfortunately."
Yeah, no matter what you do, it's never the right thing. It's like,
it's
absolutely. Yeah.
I like kind of to what you had mentioned about that the strong female character, we say because you can understand both of them. The father, despite like he there's no way he's going to willingly let his daughter sacrifice herself, but you can see she's just determined. Like her love for him is such that I'm also not going to. So you have immovable objects out of love for each other, and the fact that she's just as adamant about a sacrifice as we see a lot of other characters. I want what I want. A little bit more of the rebellion, a little bit more of the self-serving type things, and this is adamant self-sacrifice. Like I am. You are not going to tell me that I cannot give up my life for you, which is, again, I think that's an aspirational quality to be that determined. And I hate, again, the fact he keeps saying "my children." Now it sounds like his sons aren't turd muffins. They may be a little, naive. It's hard because we don't, obviously in this old story, because there's no real, have you seen, did the story you had, did that have an illustration? Because I'm trying to picture what this beast looked like in that version versus like the Disney one, where it's kind of like this lion, wolf, man combination. Huge. I mean, I'm trying to remember, he's probably like, I don't know, 8 feet, 9 feet tall if he was standing up straight.
He's like a lion and a buffalo and a bear, I think, something like that. They kind of combined them, and his roar is like I can't remember, I think it was like a tiger and a lion combined. They combined it like roars to make his roar, and they combined animals to make his it was in the original, in my the illustrations were just a man in nice clothing with hair around the place. Like he just kind of looked, I think he might have had horns or something. But it was very like, this is a person with hair.
That was the impression I got. It's more of he's a beast because he's kind of ugly, or he's kind of disformed. But then how weak are this guy's sons? He's like, you guys couldn't handle him. He's too ugly. He's got hair on his body. You don't want to mess with this guy.
There aren't enough fainting couches in the world for you sons. No.
Right. Yeah, his sons were all like, come on, Dad, let's go get this guy. We're going to kick his butt. He's like, oh, gosh, no. Oh, jeez.
No, please, just no. I appreciate you. Just no. Sit down.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh.
And it doesn't say how old they are either. Like, are they... I mean, they're working in the fields, but that could have been any age, really.
Yeah.
Say how old their sons are.
Now, do you know husbandry? What that's?
Oh, sorry.
No, because that was the only word I didn't really know in that context when they say husbandry. I just wondered.
Animal husbandry. It's like taking care of the animals. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're older than Beauty because she's the youngest, of course. But yeah.
And we don't know how old she is.
We don't.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, in theory, old enough, because if we want to take this as a decent society, as it were, she's old enough to be considered for marriage and proposed to without shame, but still like at just that threshold where it's like, so I'm guessing probably early teen, like 15, maybe somewhere around 15,
I was going to say 15 or 16, yeah, probably. Because marriageable age, but she's like, nah, I'm too young.
I want to be with my dad.
Yeah.
Which
Daddy's girl.
I mean, they could have explored that a little bit more. Just that amount of loyalty, and obviously him having apparently at some point lost his wife, and just her feeling that much, not obligation, but just that much attachment. But I mean, we don't have a middle ground. We have her horrible sisters, which are just horrible people that obviously they're only thinking about themselves. And then you have this amazing Beauty. There's not somebody that's just like a normal daughter where it's like she's not evil, but she's also not like a paragon of virtue. She's just kind of there. We don't have a comparison there. So it's like, I guess, she was just the only cool gal that cared about her dad, I guess. All right. We'll be right back. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties here.
Okay.
There we go.
We're making progress. That last call was 31 minutes as opposed to 14, the one before. So there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe. Oh gosh, it's one thing. So it's like, I mean, this is stuff that when I was growing up, this would have been the stuff. This is the stuff of science fiction, like video calls. Like, oh, could you imagine a phone where you could actually see somebody, and like the idea of having a screen somewhere on the phone. So this is glorious. At the same time, I don't feel spoiled because it should work better than this.
Yeah. I was going to say, Ever After, which is a remake of Cinderella, one of the stepsisters is actually just a normal person. There's one horrible one, and there's one who's actually kind of good and doesn't get justice at the end because she's kind of on Cinderella's side. So it was just interesting. Yeah, it was a nice juxtaposition of it. It was like, there would be someone surely who's not just horrible in the house. But apparently.
I guess reasonably, because it kind of like the path of least resistance. Like it's not hard to become vain and prideful and greedy and all that. So if you have a like, especially if she's an older sister and she's got the one that comes over there, like they would feed off each other. I think it's more understandable they would be kind of corruptive of each other, and then Belle's just kind of this outlier, maybe because she was a few years younger, or her disposition was just so different. But
that's true. Actually, that is a. I like to say toxic feminine, because toxic masculinity, that's a toxic femininity thing. Yeah, for sure. You go along with the crowd. You see it in high school and all the time. So yes, that's valid.
But it is nice to have nuance, though. That said, I think it is.
Yeah.
To see how a well-behaved would be. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see.
Okay.
Yep.
The merchant was so afflicted at the thoughts of losing his daughter that he had quite forgot the chest full of gold. But at night, when he retired to rest, no sooner had he shut his chamber door than, to his great astonishment, he found it by his bedside. He was determined, however, not to tell his children that he was grown rich, because they would have wanted to return to town, and he was resolved not to leave the country. But he trusted Beauty with the secret, who informed him that 2 gentlemen came in his absence and courted her sisters. She begged her father to consent to their marriage and give them fortunes, for she was so good that she loved them and forgave them heartily all their ill usage. These wicked creatures rubbed their eyes with an onion to force some tears when they parted with their sister. But her brothers were really concerned. Beauty was the only one who did not shed tears at parting, because she would not increase their uneasiness. Okay, that's getting to kind of a martyr almost level. That's a bit like,
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to go, because it was like, we are talking about, like, again, this is an idealistic, and initially I would say reasonable, but at some point you go, okay, this almost isn't human. This is
that's a bit too much.
Yeah. And I don't think it's to its credit. Like, I do, especially at the end, it seems like in the last few sentences of all these stories, that one of, like, whatever you kids got from the story, here's what you need to, virtue is important. This is important. And you are a good person because of these things. Like, they make it very, very clear so you don't miss the point. But it's like, I feel like it almost is, especially, I mean, for kids, probably not, but in the point where you're old enough to kind of start transitioning out of this kind of story and into something a little more complicated, I think, it does it a little bit of a disservice to have that so much, because you look at it and go, I can never be that. Like, that's like, 'cause at that point you've experienced enough of life where you're like, I cried just because, I didn't, I dropped my drink and I wasn't able to get another one. And so I cried, and my parents felt bad. And it's like, Beauty wouldn't have done that. She wouldn't have wanted anybody to suffer her tears. And it's like,
it's okay to have tears.
Yeah.
You're going to a place where you think you're going to die. Come on.
Yeah.
It's okay to cry.
And the again, I understand the aspiration of forgiving, but it's almost like, and I guess maybe because of the way the life is, you can't get out of it, but like, it's an abusive relationship. I mean, with the way her sisters treat her and have treated her, and I mean, they're animus. Like, they're happy she's going to die. Like, this is, from all intents and purposes, that is a murderous intent. Doesn't mean that they're guilty of murder, but like, in their hearts, they're delighting at the death of their sister. It's like forgive and forget. No, let's not forget. Let's forgive, but don't. And maybe cynical take. The whole reason she's willing to do this is like, the beast can't be worse than my sisters. Like, I'm willing to. I'll go die there because they're probably going to kill me anyway. They're such horrible people. I would rather go live with the beast and take my chances than stay here with these twits that you, father, don't seem to have any interest in reining in.
Yes. And even like earlier in the paragraph, she's like, she really wants them to have a good life, like give them money and send them on their way. And it's like, not. See, I know like we're studying forgiveness at the moment in my church, and it's all about like releasing yourself instead of like, you're not like, their action can't be excused, but you're releasing them so you can walk closer to God, which I totally get. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in there. Like, if you saw people rubbing their eyes with onion, just like, right? Yeah. Okay, forgive you. Yeah, great.
Right.
It's like, that takes a strong person, and I admire it, but also it's like, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one.
Yeah. What might have actually helped is if they because again, since the story is willing to be a bit on the nose at times, to say, and she did it not because she did not find their behavior distasteful, but because she desired to be light of heart, and she knew that such bitterness would only make her more as miserable as they, and so she forgave for her own good.
Yeah, that would be Add that in there. There we go.
Right, there we go. Done and done. Updated version. It hasn't been touched since the 1700s.
We made it better. There we go.
Right. Alrighty. Yeah, that was a short one. If you want to take the next one as
Yeah,
well.
sure. Oh, the horse knows where he's going. It's great. The
Oh,
horse
that was
the
a
direct.
sorry.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
another
yeah.
thing too. If you notice, the horse is what gets him to the castle, and it says the horse, without him doing anything, is what gets him back. So I'm wondering if when we
Yes.
tie into that whole mystical, like where the castle is, that there's something about the animals being able to get them there and back. Like we have no clue how to get there, which would be obviously a big problem. So there may be some supernatural thing. Anyway, sorry, I just
Maybe.
on.
Maybe. That's very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, the horse took the direct road to the palace, and towards evening they perceived it illuminated as at first. The horse went off himself into the stable. I love that. He's like, "Yep, great." And the good man and his daughter came into the great hall, where they found a table splendidly served up, and two covers. The merchant had no heart to eat, but Beauty endeavoured to appear cheerful, sat down to table, and helped him. Afterwards, thought she to herself, Beast surely has a mind to fatten me up before he eats me, since he provides such a plentiful entertainment. When they had supped, they heard a great noise, and the merchant, all in tears, bid his poor child farewell, for he thought Beast was coming. Beauty was sadly terrified at his horrid form, but she took courage as well as she could, and the monster, having asked her if she came willingly, Yes, said she, trembling. You are very good, and I am greatly obliged to you. Honest man, go your ways tomorrow morning, but never think of returning here again. Farewell, Beauty. Farewell, Beast, answered she, and immediately the monster withdrew. Oh, daughter, said the merchant, embracing Beauty, I am almost frightened to death. Believe me, you had better go back and let me stay here. No, father, said Beauty in a resolute tone. You shall set out tomorrow morning, and leave me to the care and protection of Providence. They went to bed, and thought they should not close their eyes all night, but scarce were they laid down than they fell asleep, and Beauty dreamed. A fine lady came and said to her, I am content, Beauty, with your good will. This good action of yours, in giving up your own life to save your father's, shall not go unrewarded. Beauty waked, and told her father the dream, and though it helped to comfort him a little, yet he could not help crying bitterly when he took leave of his dear child.
That's
So yes. So that's like the fairy or yeah.
which is weird because the father thanks the fairy, when he first stays, he seemed to acknowledge, understands that there's something there. But I do think that is I don't know if there's a better name for it, but the what have you done for me lately syndrome, where it's kind of no matter how awesome somebody or God or fairy, whatever, does something for you 20 minutes ago, if you're faced with hardship in that present moment, that doesn't really seem to get you there. It's not like, well, there's a good fairy out there somewhere, I'm sure she'll take care of everything. It's like, despite that, it's like, okay, great. Because it doesn't say, it does say won't go unrewarded, which would be some kind of indication she's not going to get mauled at the very least.
Maybe.
But that'd be the hope.
It's like, yeah, it'll be a quick death. And
right.
That's nice. Okay, thank you.
But now who because I'm just wondering, and again, not that this is super important, I'm just curious. I don't remember when it got twisted, because all that the beast said was, you're going to die. And then he said, I'll bring my daughter. Well, if she dies in your place, where do we go from she's going to die to she's going to get eaten? Because that's kind of a different, especially if you're talking about a beast, that's a different fate. One of them could just be a quick stab in the chest. Another one could be, nom, 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 while you're screaming.
Oh no. As soon as she sees him, she's like, well, he's going to eat me. Like, oh no, she hasn't seen him yet. She's like, it's just like, okay, great food. Okay, yep, he's fattening me up.
Yeah, did her dad say that he was going to eat her?
No, I think
she just assumed.
Maybe it's just you figure it's a beast. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, just assumed. Made an ass out of you and me.
And maybe that's the prejudice, if you will, perhaps, that because he's a beast, that he would want to devour instead of just. I don't know. That's where that whole death as punishment comes in, but that a beast would surely want to eat me.
But I like how the lady says, you're giving up your life to save his. So it's like, okay, you're willing to give your life. It's just a different way that it's going to be, I guess, because in a way. I don't know, I'm getting a bit airy-fairy, but it's like you give up your former life and you join with your new family, like your husband, and it is almost like a mini death in a way, but even not at the same time. Maybe,
right.
I'm getting airy-fairy about that.
But it's fair.
But yeah.
It's fair. And it ties in with what you're saying about the whole the reason why death was the cost of picking the rose, because it needed to be somebody who would be willing to die. That is an important aspect, and I do think it does, like you were saying. Now, I think it could be argued. People might say, well, it's conditioning. When you talk about like arranged marriages, but the idea of if you go into it with the mindset of, not to say that we should, but if you go into it with the mindset of I'm giving up myself for this. Like, it's only going to get better, because we say, okay, two people become one. You kind of join your life together, but you don't lose your identity. You're not just an amalgamous blob of the combination. You're still your own person with your own dreams and goals and everything. But now you're joined together. But if you at least go into it going, all right, all bets are off. My life is not my own anymore. At the very least, I think then the ability to give and the ability to kind of want to be there for the other person or have that mindset, and we do see. In just a few minutes, Beast has the exact same mindset. So I think that's the idea is go in just going, my life is not my own, and things get a lot better versus, all right, you're going to give me, like, my life is going to get better for me because I'm with you. Like, you're going to take care of me. You're going to do these things for me versus it being a sacrifice type deal in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
Did not get that far on Discord. Oh gosh. Just think of it, folks. Think of these as commercial interruptions. That's all. Just without a sponsor. This video is sponsored to you by modern technology failures.
There we go. Okay.
Right. Oh goodness. I'm telling people it's like a commercial thing, commercial break without any sponsor. Really.
Yeah. Now, word from our sponsor, Discord. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. We're making it work. We're making it work.
Yep.
Let's see here. I mean this. Yeah. I mean, if you
go into it.
No.
Oh yeah, sure, I will. But like, you go into Discord the same way you go into an arranged marriage.
Right. Yeah. All bets are off. Just.
Yep, my life is not my own.
Right. That way, when it works just for 5 minutes, you're like, "Hey, this is great."
Yay.
Setting the bar low, Discord.
Okay. As soon as he was gone, Beauty sat down in the great hall and fell a-crying likewise. But as she was mistress of a great deal of resolution, she recommended herself to God and resolved not to be uneasy the little time she had to live, for she firmly believed Beast would eat her up that night. Whew. That's a good one. I like that. Like, she has her moment of crying, but she has a prayer. She gets her strength, and she's still got her prejudice there about getting eaten. That's a good one. Okay. However, she thought she might as well walk about till then and view this fine castle, which she could not help admiring. It was a delightful, pleasant place, and she was extremely surprised at seeing a door over which was wrote, Beauty's apartment. She opened it hastily and was quite dazzled with the magnificence that reigned throughout. For what chiefly took up her attention was a large library, a harpsichord, and several music books. Well, said she to herself, I see they will not let my time hang heavy on my hands for want of amusement. Then she reflected, were I but to stay here a day, there would not have been all these preparations. This consideration inspired her with fresh courage, And opening the library, she took a book and read these words in letters of gold. Welcome, beauty, banish fear. You are queen and mistress here. Speak your wishes, speak your will. Swift obedience meets them still. Alas, said she with a sigh, there is nothing I desire so much as to see my poor father and to know what he is doing. She had no sooner said this when, casting her eyes on a great looking-glass, to her great amazement, she saw her own home, where her father arrived with a very dejected countenance. Her sisters went to meet him, and, notwithstanding their endeavours to appear sorrowful, their joy, felt for having got rid of their sister, was visible in every feature. A moment after, everything disappeared, and Beauty's apprehensions at this proof of Beast's complacence. Oh, I see. Everything disappeared along with her apprehensions. Mm-hmm.
And see, and that's what I mean. Like it's a two-way street. You know, it's like, okay, you're willing to, you giving up your life, and he's saying you run the show. Like don't be afraid.
Yeah.
You are, which is an interesting. Again, not to weave too much, you know, what they call it, religion in there, but like when people often refer to Proverbs 31 when they talk about like the ideal woman, and she's not just cooking and cleaning. Like she tends the house, she tends the business, she tends to affairs. Like that's kind of her domain. And it says like, let her works bring her praise at the city gates. Like she should be acknowledged for being awesome at what she does. And it's so much more than just a very simple domesticated kind of thing. Like, and granted, in our contemporary society, there may not be as many of those functions as are in that book, but it's very much of a, like, this is not the oppressive, you're here, you're my prisoner type thing. Even in the Disney story, this is, you are queen and mistress here. Like, I'm here to serve you, more or less. And whatever you want is going to be given to you. So it's framed in a much different way than I'm allowing you to live, which, yeah. And I think that just goes to your point. Like he had no intention of killing her or wanting to kill her. It was always going to be this approach.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's really lovely. And I love that, there's the library and the harpsichord, like that she already loved to play. And it's just,
What
it's beautiful.
It is. And I do want to, because of this mirror, and we know in the Disney version, it's a small mirror, it's a hand mirror that I think he like gives it to her. It's like, when she said, they have something similar where she's talking with him and he's like, whatever you want. She's like, I'd really love to see my father again. That's when he gives her the mirror. But I mean, it works for him as well. So I'm wondering if he knows about the library and the harpsichord because he was able to use the mirror to see what her life was like. Once her father left, he's like, all right, who's this possible gal of mine? Show me her, show me this daughter, show me this youngest daughter that, he referenced, and he gets to see what she's into and is like, all right, let me accommodate that.
Let me provide that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a good point.
Unless harpsichords come standard in every,
Women like harpsichords. Yeah, that's good. But no, I think that's right. I think that's right. Yeah, he would have used it to see. That's cool. Well, he's acting like, the prince already. It's great.
Yeah, and I think in this one we don't really have a temper issue, which, but I don't know about you. I kind of think, I mean, again, we talk about things that make it work for a movie versus a story to actually have that angst, make him very beastly to begin with. Whereas here it's her going, he's going to eat me. And nothing even close. Whereas in the other one, she's just kind of, okay, I'm going to be a prisoner. And then he's kind, but also kind of self-defeating, which I think, because I don't want to spoil it, but if I'm not mistaken, the nature of the reason why the beast is a beast in this one is not the same as why he's a beast in the Disney version.
No, there's different.
And that's a difference. Big, because one of them is, because we don't, wait, do we find out? No, Wait, in this one, do we? I know in the longer version they go through this whole backstory of the fairies, and there's a whole big thing with betrayal. And this one, and I think there's cousins involved. It gets kind of dicey. But suffice to say, the prince doesn't say, "Oh, screw you, like old hag," and send her away like he does in the Disney version. He's much more innocent in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
He's just
It's more like the fairy's wicked, I think. Or he calls her wicked, but I don't actually think she is. It's a bit more up in the air with this one.
What now? So in the original is very much of a Joseph story where she wants to marry him, and he rejects her, and she gets pissed off because he spurned her advances, and then she does. Now I don't know. I don't think that's what's in this one. But that longer story I was talking about, that's one of his father or mother go off to war or something like that, and while they're away, the fairy wants to hook up, and he's like, nah, and she's like, that doesn't work for me. So, but
oh, that's cool. Wish they kept that in.
Right? I know. It's a lot of, but I do think, I mean, there is something. I like it better with, I guess you call it agency, where for in the Disney version where he does it is a consequence of his actions. Kind of the beast is a manifestation of. Now I think you said, now this is interesting because you mentioned that I think it's canon. You said that in the Disney version he's only 11 when he gets turned into a beast.
Yes. So in the original film, the rose blooms for 10 years and it blooms until his 21st year. So he's 11 years old, and they confirmed that in the Midquel movie, the Enchanted Christmas movie, where they show him as 11 years old sitting on the throne. So people just say, oh, so the fairy's a villain because she's cursing this child. But I'm like, no, this is a beastly 11-year-old boy who's going to be the king, and he doesn't have his parents. He's acting like a beast. There's only so many years before he's going to cause real damage. So let's try to reach him because all these people's lives are at stake that he's going to be taken care of. So so it's a coming of age tale for him, I think. And I don't know if there's more like puberty stuff involved where you're coming into your manhood. I don't know entirely. I'm not a guy. But
it's about that, yeah.
And there's also this they developed it more in the Broadway version. In the Broadway version, he's actually older. They take out the 11-year-old. He's just the rose will bloom for many years. And so he's older and Belle's older. I actually played Belle
no kidding.
About 20 years ago. Yeah, and it was a small production. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really fun. Hey. But she's older as well in the musical, which makes it really more weird that she's still wandering around reading fairy tales.
Right.
Like, okay, what are you doing, woman? But yeah, he's definitely 11 in the animated version, and for a reason. It's coming of age. It's coming of age story, and also, like, she's reading children's stories at the beginning when we meet her, and she's coming then she has to go into the adult world, and he's kind of stuck in this. He gets stuck at 11 years old, but then he's kind of, as you see it, he becomes more human again and grows up more and kind of becomes a man by the end. So it's this kind of mirroring of the two that I find really interesting about it.
The last petal fell. So the last petal fell organically. So the idea is that he is 21 at the end of the movie, right?
Yes, and she's 19, I think. I think canonically she's 19. Yeah.
Okay.
In the movie.
Okay. So he had about 10 years to get his act together, I guess, to reconsider his, because I mean, because it's pretty much all that takes place in months. Kind of our actual story, the Disney story, is like maybe 4 or 5 months at the very end of his 21st year.
So yeah, he meets her when she's 20. He's like, wow.
Right. And it's interesting too, like I feel like that is actually would have been felt very organic to the story because, or to the original, the 1700s version, because we do know historically there were young kings that got the throne early because of a bunch of things, and they were craptacular. They were horrible in a lot of ways. So it's I don't know if that's some really good writing from Disney going, hey, that this is like, this was a thing. You had spoiled, rotten young kids, getting power, and they got their kingdom into war and all this other kind of crap. And so it would be a disciplinary action by the fairy to say, okay, you're, this is not okay. You're gonna cause some problems. Although it didn't seem like he had really his subjects being Cogsworth and Lemire. I didn't think he's gonna go to war over anything anytime soon. But
no,
Mrs. Potts. But,
yeah.
but yeah, but the whole
thing of Chip, like, how old is Chip? He's like 6. How did that happen? Anyway,
yeah. Well, that is one thing about the Disney version. I'm with you. I love the fact that, and that's the joy of the animation. That's the beauty of it. You can have these, before CG came along, you could have these very bizarre characters, these animated clocks and stuff. But at the same time, you go, were they all as messed up as the prince, or is the idea that because it's under his authority that they all suffer? Because when the head is corrupt, it kind of trickles down. Not that they were corrupt, but like if you're under the purview of a benevolent ruler, then everybody thrives. If you're under the rule of a dictator or a horrible person, then everybody's going to suffer because of it. I don't know, because like you say, Chip, there's no way he should have been turned into a cup. I'm sure he wasn't a jerk, but
yeah.
And Miss Potts seems really cool, but
I know she's great. Well, I think, the servants got a hard deal in it, but I like the idea of them being representative. They took it too far in the Broadway version and the remake, where if the curse was not broken, they'd all have to stay. They'd actually turn into inanimate objects and cease to live.
Oh,
it got really, wow. It got quite disturbing. Like,
I mean that would fit the older story, but
yes.
Gosh,
it went
that's
randomly
creepy.
dark. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I think Cogsworth is like, oh no, I can't move this part of my body anymore. Like, oh no.
Oh, jeez, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. When you actually think about it, like, oh no.
Yeah,
So,
jeez.
Because I think in the original, like in the Disney original, they didn't actually say what was going to happen. It was just assumed they'd just turn back into humans, maybe, or I don't know.
I don't think I ever thought about them per se. It just was, just fixated on the beast. But yeah,
it's like, are they going to stay objects, enchanted objects, or are they going to? And then later Disney was like, they're all going to die. I was like, okay.
Although the ending that we talked about, that is very similar in some ways to, what we talk about at the end, what the fate, the punishment. But at least that's earned, and I think that's a distinction that, it's
an important one.
yeah, it's which is weird because so like in the Disney animated version, again, Beast is turned into, well, I guess what is it? His non-canon name is Adam. I think is that.
Oh
right?
yeah,
that's we just
fan theory name. Yeah.
What was it? Was his name when he turned into the prince in your production? Was he given a name, or was he just called the prince? Prince. Okay, Prince. Maybe his name was Prince, or the beast formerly known as Prince, or the prince formerly known as Beast. So,
yeah.
But like he deserved he became a monster outwardly because that was kind of what he was. Inwardly as a manifestation, so he kind of deserved that. The punishment we get here, you could certainly say they deserve the punishment fits the crime, but to have his servants, unless I would love to see like a prequel or something where we just see like these really diabolical evil Lemire and Mrs. Potts and everything just like scheming to cannibalize the kingdom or something, and so it's like 10 years later they've mellowed a bit, but they were just as evil as he was. I don't know, but it just seems punishment needs to fit the crime, not just, well, sucks to be you guys. You happen to be working for a jerk, and so you're gonna have to become inanimate objects with no souls anymore. It's like, oh, well.
Yeah, like in the Enchanted Christmas mid-call thingy, they were just all kind of like scared of him. He would just be yelling at them, and they'd be like, oh no," like
Mm.
that's not. And I and then in the remake, they said, well, his father was really evil and was mean. It was abusive to the prince, and we didn't stop that, so we deserve punishment. I was like, that's not really. That's blaming the victim a bit.
Right.
That's like you've got a powerful evil man in charge of your lives, and yeah, you can be forgiven for not stepping up at that point, I think.
Right.
But they really blame themselves. Like Mrs. Potts, like, oh yes, we deserved it. And it's like, no, gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, it got really nasty. Disney.
that's interesting. Like, there's so many variations. It's like that.
Mm.
Even Disney itself has fractured, because I think the Broadway is different than, it's still based on the Disney version, but the remake they did is also completely. It's still Disney, but it's a completely different retelling, right? It's in some key ways
Loosely based on it, but it's fundamentally different in every way, pretty much. So people still don't see that, and there was someone on randomly on Facebook like, "What's the difference?" And I listed like 3 of them, and they didn't reply because I'm like, yeah, "You're not ready for this conversation."
right.
It's okay. You don't have to be ready for this conversation. I understand.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's. I mean, it just shows, like you were saying. I mean, there's time, and it does make me wonder how much of, well, I mean, to be fair, like you get stories like this, it almost feels like they've been mothballed. Like, I don't know about, like, to be honest, I told you I had a series of books called My Book House, which were these hardback versions of, I mean, Chinese fairy tales and stuff like that were translated, but didn't have a classic like this. And so it's like how hard it's becoming to get access to the original works. But even then, as we read them, even if there's some things we don't quite understand, they've got some bite to them. Like you can there's a method to the madness, and it is, again, it seems that there's, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a wholesomeness to it. Whereas there's nothing wrong with, I think, the Disney animated in that way. I don't think it's unwholesome. It just it just seems like that's just the version. Like unless you seek it out, you're not going to find the story that has a lot more complexity to it. You're going to get the more basic, because of what it needs to be as an animated feature. And then you go, okay, well, is the Broadway one going to stick around longer? Is the remake going to be, in 50 years, 100 years from now, out of all these stories, which ones are going to be upheld? And it feels like it's unfair that this one only exists in a medium that is less accessible, seemingly less accessible.
Yeah.
Because you have to read it, and some of the language is a little bit, it's not too bad, but
a bit fruity.
yeah. There's definitely somebody like, I by context I know what you mean, but like, I mean, just even calling Belle handsome, like that's colloquially, that's not how we would refer to a gal in any way that is going to make you hold you in good stead with her. Like, girl, you are truly handsome.
Handsome lady. Like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You're pretty.
Take that. Right? Yeah. oh gosh, yeah.
Thanks.
We missed each other there. We missed it. All right. Well, I think we're approaching halfway point here, if not a little bit more. Let's see. Well, I mean, again, if you're, especially since you did the play and everything, if you want to keep going, I mean, let me know if you get tired or whatever. But if you would like to keep reading, go for it, please.
Okay. I'll do this next chunk and see how my voice goes. All right. At noon, she found dinner ready, and while at table, was entertained with an excellent concert of music, though without seeing anybody. But at night, as she was going to sit down to supper, she heard the noise Beast made, and could not help being sadly terrified. "Beauty," said the monster, "will you give me leave to see you sup?" That is as you please," answered Beauty, trembling. "No," replied the Beast. "You alone are mistress here. You need only bid me gone, if my presence is troublesome, and I will immediately withdraw. But tell me, do not you think me very ugly?" "That is true," said Beauty, "for I cannot tell a lie. But I believe you are very good-natured. So I am, said the monster. But then, besides my ugliness, I have no sense. I know very well that I am a poor, silly, stupid creature. 'Tis no sign of folly to think so, replied Beauty, for never did fool know this, or had so humble a conceit of his own understanding. Eat then, Beauty, said the monster, and endeavour to amuse yourself in your palace. For everything here is yours, and I should be very uneasy if you were not happy. You are very obliging, answered Beauty. I own I am pleased with your kindness, and when I consider that, your deformity scarce appears. Yes, yes, said the beast. My heart is good, but I am still a monster. Among mankind, says Beauty, there are many that deserve that name more than you, and I prefer you, just as you are, to those who, under a human form, hide a treacherous, corrupt, and ungrateful heart. If I had sense enough, replied the beast, I would make a fine compliment to thank you, but I am so dull that I can only say I am greatly obliged to you. Beauty ate a hearty supper, and had almost conquered her dread of the monster, but she had liked to have fainted away when he said to her, Beauty, will you be my wife? She was some time before she durst answer, for she was afraid of making him angry if she refused. At last, however, she said, trembling, No, beast. Immediately the poor monster began to sigh, and hissed so frightfully that the whole palace echoed. But Beauty soon recovered her fright, for Beast, having said in a mournful voice, Then farewell, Beauty, left the room, and only turned back, now and then, to look at her as he went out.
I just got you ever watched Winnie the Pooh?
Yes.
When Rabbit tells Tigger that he can no longer I think he makes an agreement. He's like that you'd never bounce again, and he starts walking off, and he looks back at him, and he walks. His little ears are down, his tail's down. That's a mental image I had of Beast walking away.
Oh, poor Tigger.
I mean, there's so much just in terms of like character. Now, I will say this: just as we talked about Belle being a little, Beauty being a little bit. Maybe too altruistic, maybe too benevolent. The only excuse, like right now, like the whole concept, we hear now, happy wife, happy life. It's like versus like happy spouse, happy house. Like we kind of want to make it good for each other. Whereas he's just like, no, whatever you want. Like, can I watch you eat? Can I sit with you? If not, I'll go away. Like, but I understand he's angling. Like he needs her to be completely comfortable and at ease to marry him. Otherwise, he's totally hosed. So you can understand why he might, but I think part of the point of this is pointing out that he's not doing it just for that reason, because when she rejects him, he doesn't just say, okay, well, fine, screw you then, and sulk or throw a fit. He continues this behavior, but it is a little bit more where just like, anything you want, baby, anything you want, I'll give it to you. Just, it's a little, it got to be a little bit like, oh, come on, man. Like, I'm going to say,
a little simpy.
Yeah, exactly. That is the word. That is the word.
Yeah.
But for both of them as characters, for her saying, him going like, I'm kind of an idiot. Like I don't got a lot of charms. And she's like, idiots don't actually think of themselves as idiots, which is huge. Like people don't, the people that have the least good things to say typically say them the loudest. But, and the fact she does reject him, and I think that's a big thing too. She's not that benevolent where she's just like, no, and even afraid, fearing for her own life. She's just like, I can't say yes to something that I just don't feel. She's not there yet. And he doesn't force the issue.
And she says he's ugly because she cannot tell a lie. So she's very honest.
Which that's something I think. As I guess the point, as you were reading that, like I'm just thinking in my head, how much better would society be at this moment if this dialogue was met or not? Like, be honest. Like, I'm not saying that this should be it, but like, do I look fat? You would look better in something else. Like, you don't want to say that, but it's like this idea that somehow lying or forfeiting the truth is actually a benefit. And here it's making it very clear you don't sacrifice truth for anything. Even if you think you're going to die because of it, you say the truth, because that is the best way to go about things. Even if it seems like the consequences are going to suck, it's better for you to be honest. Because he even says, I appreciate honesty. So she didn't know that, but to hear, that was probably refreshing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how does my butt look big in this? I'm gonna mini rant. Like, do you want to know or not? Do you want it to look big in it? Because if you do, then yes, that's good. If you're concerned your butt looks big in it, then don't you want to know? I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's
my mini rant.
it's thinking like the idea is like, I would rather have somebody that I know loves me and cares about me, giving me, and again, not now if you say
feedback.
That and the guy,
honest feedback. Yeah, sorry, go.
Well, yeah, but you don't like, because you can even somebody you care about can respond in a way that makes you feel like crap. Like if he's just tired or annoyed or is kind of wanting to poke or prod because you guys in an argument, he may say it, and it may come across as hurtful because he actually kind of wants to jab at her. But in ideal situation, she asks that question, you want somebody that cares about you and doesn't want you to be ridiculed or feel uncomfortable in public to say, let's try something, maybe something else. Where you don't have to be knock her over the head with it, but you're being honest about it. Because like you said, in theory, she's asking because she doesn't want to go in public and look ridiculous. And yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, most guys think so.
You just be like, okay, tell me I look great in this. Okay,
right,
great.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yep.
Communication.
I got triggered.
I could tell. I was like, she took umbrage right there. I have to say. Yeah, doesn't my butt look big in this? It's kind of
it does, doesn't it? All right. Okay. I'm not blind. Okay. When Beauty was alone, she felt a great deal of compassion for poor Beast. Alas, said she, 'tis 1,000 pities anything so good-natured should be so ugly. Beauty spent 3 months very contentedly in the palace. Every evening Beast paid her a visit, and talked to her during supper, very rationally, with plain good common sense, but never with what the world calls wit. And Beauty daily discovered some valuable qualifications in the monster, and seeing him often, had so accustomed her to his deformity that, far from dreading the time of his visit, she would often look on her watch to see when it would be 9, for the Beast never missed coming at that hour. There was but one thing that gave Beauty any concern, which was that every night before she went to bed, the monster always asked her if she would be his wife. One day she said to him, Beast, you make me very uneasy. I wish I could consent to marry you, but I am too sincere to make you believe that will ever happen. I shall always esteem you as a friend. Endeavour to be satisfied with this. I must, said the Beast, for alas, I know too well my own misfortune. But then I love you with the tenderest affection. However, I ought to think myself happy that you will stay here. Promise me never to leave me. Beauty blushed at these words. She had seen in her glass that her father had pined himself sick for the loss of her, and she longed to see him again. I could, answered she, indeed promise never to leave you entirely, but I have so great a desire to see my father that I shall fret to death if you refuse me that satisfaction. I had rather die myself, said the monster, than give you the least uneasiness. I will send you to your father. You shall remain with him, and poor Beast will die with grief. Oh my gosh. No, said Beauty, weeping. I love you too well to be the cause of your death. I give you my promise to return in a week. You have shewn me that my sisters are married, and my brother's gone to the army. Only let me stay a week with my father, as he is alone. You shall be there tomorrow morning, said the Beast. But remember your promise. You need only lay your ring on the table before you go to bed, when you have a mind to come back. Farewell, Beauty. Is that right? Yep, farewell, Beauty. Beast sighed as usual, bidding her good night, and Beauty went to bed very sad at seeing him so afflicted. When she waked the next morning, she found herself at her father's, and having rang a little bell that was by her bedside, she saw the maid come, who, the moment she saw her, gave a loud shriek, at which the good man ran upstairs, and thought he should have died with joy to see his dear daughter again. He held her fast locked in his arms above a quarter of an hour. As soon as the first transports were over, Beauty began to think of rising, and was afraid she had no clothes to put on. But the maid told her that she had just found in the next room a large trunk full of gowns, covered with gold and diamonds. Beauty thanked good Beast for his kind care, and taking one of the plainest of them, she intended to make a present of others. She intended to make a present of the others to her sisters. She scarce had said so when the trunk disappeared. Her father told her that Beast insisted on keeping them herself, and immediately both gowns and trunk came back again. Okay, interesting. So he's like, oh, I want to give them away. Nope.
Yep. When you notice earlier on in the story, when so the father made that agreement, said she swore an oath and said, I'll get my daughter to come. The chest, the dowry, as you pointed out, or the seemingly dowry, that chest did not appear until after he had, essentially kept his promise. He told Beauty that he was going to go, and she's like, no, I'll go with you. So at that point, one of the two, actually both of them, had said they're going to go, and that's when the trunk appeared. So apparently this trunk is it's very sentient. It knows what's going on.
That's cool. Like, yeah, there's definitely magic at play. Like, and how much magic does the Beast have over that, or is that the fairy doing that? Who knows?
Yeah. I will say this is also the first time, I think, in recorded fairy tale history that somebody was actually friend zoned. In so many words.
Yes! I was when I read that. I got friend zoned. Oh no!
Like, just straight out. Nah, I'm not going to be with you, but it's cool for friends. Like,
yeah, you're like a brother to me.
Right. Well, considering what happens later, it's lucky she didn't put it that way, but it does.
That's true.
I do wonder, because maybe when we read further, but I don't remember there being a sign. Oh no. I guess there is something that reveals something to herself, because when you hear her talk about him and how she relates to him and everything, again, you got to keep in mind that the hideousness of him and everything, but the way she talks to him, you're like, why is it that you are so, like, you are essentially living in almost a married life? Obviously you're not, there's not the physical intimacy, but you're spending all your time there. You look forward to seeing him. You guys have great conversations. You got this whole thing going on. Why is the idea of marriage such an affront, beyond, of course, what you would, if you think further down the road, you think, okay, do I want to be having to wake up next to this guy every morning? Maybe not. But I do remember there is something that it doesn't change in her. I think she just realizes it finally clicks. But yeah. And I do, yeah.
She's showing a lot of
She's like kind of in love with him, but she loves him.
Oh, you got going, Dr. Robot. Oh, goodness. Folks, this is not typical of Discord. You can usually get through. I've done Discord calls that have lasted 5 hours and not had a problem. So this is just a little hiccup.
Okay.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. It's a little bit. Not too bad.
Oh no, what have I done? How do I? Oh, there we go. Pop out. There it is. It's the one nice thing is, once I hear you talking like a robot for like 10 seconds, when you come back sounding crystal clear, it's like, oh, that's so nice. It's so much better.
Yay.
So
am I still roboting?
Nope.
A little bit. No, just tiny bit, but that's all right.
Yeah, there's been a hint of it in certain words, but
yeah, that's okay.
Now, and this is foreshadowing, because they mention this later on, they speak to this directly, but it's interesting, speaking that they talked very rationally with plain good common sense, but never with what the world calls wit.
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because you never think of wit as being a bad thing per se.
No.
But it's I guess the idea just normal communicate, like there's no sarcasm, no I don't know. It's I guess wit being something of a mental activity or a mental like a mental sport is wit. Coming up with something witty, having a repartee back and forth. It is kind of like a mental duel. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not. I wonder too if like we just get used to, especially in conversation, it being a lot of times more of that kind of a joust instead of it just being plain old, as they say, common sense upfront stuff. I've never heard of it phrased in that way where it's like all these good things, but not wit. We didn't bring wit into the conversation. We didn't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very peaceful.
And he says,
I wonder.
Go ahead.
I was like, go. There you go.
No.
I was just pondering. I don't know the answer. I was like, I'm wondering if like wit back then was considered kind of superficial and like performative, and because these days wit's just like witty banter. I'm like, yeah, a bit of banter's fun. But
Yeah.
maybe it's different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, I do want to. I'm just going to take a quick look, just out of curiosity, just to see if there was like, how sometimes they'll say you'll get a definition of a word and it'll say like not defunct, but like no
what
longer.
It used to mean.
Yeah. Intelligent humor, the ability to say or write things that are clever and typically funny. Okay. Mental sharpness and inventiveness, natural aptitude for using words. Huh.
Maybe not.
And maybe that could, because I mean, Beast does say that he's not an incredibly bright fellow. I mean, he sounds he's very self-deprecating, but maybe some of that is true. He's not. I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. So that kind of thing where he's
Oh, no.
he's very provincially brained.
I'm gonna picture Forrest Gump sitting at this table. Yes, will you marry me?
That's like the worst of both worlds. Sounds like Forrest Gump and looks like a beast. Like there's no winning there.
Oh no.
Jenny. Oh dear. I run far, far away. Oh, goodness gracious. For shame, this conversation has too much wit.
For shame.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
All right, so she's leaving him now, I think.
Yeah, so the trunk
she
has come back.
Has left him.
Yes, she's left him. The trunk came back. The trunk appeared. And yeah, she took the plainest gown. Because yeah, I mean, fair enough. If you're in like a country town and you're like, I'm not going to walk around shimmering everywhere. Like, yeah, that might be a bit much. Okay. Beauty dressed herself, and in the meantime they sent to her sisters, who hasted thither with their husbands. They were both of them very unhappy. Surprise, surprise. The eldest had married a gentleman, extremely handsome indeed, but so fond of his own persona, of his own person, that he was full of nothing but his own dear self, and neglected his wife. The second had married a man of wit. Oh, here we go. But he only made use of it to plague and torment everybody, and his wife most of all. Beauty's sisters sickened with envy when they saw her dressed like a princess, and more beautiful than ever, nor could all her obliging, affectionate behaviour stifle their jealousy, which was ready to burst when she told them how happy she was. They went down into the garden to vent it in tears, and said to one another, "In what is this silly little creature better than us, that she should be so much happier?" "Sister," said the eldest, "a thought just strikes my mind. Let us endeavour to detain her above a week, and perhaps the silly monster will be so enraged at her for breaking her word that he will devour her." "Right, sister," answered the other. "Therefore we must show her as much kindness as possible." Oof. And after they had taken this resolution, they went up and behaved so affectionately to their sister that poor Beauty wept for joy. When the week was expired, they cried and tore their hair, and seemed so sorry to part with her that she promised to stay a week longer. Gosh, the tears that she's crying just because they're nice to her for once. Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Anyway.
Ugh.
Hmm. Oh, we are so close to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. I thought we had more than that. Oh, there we go. In the meantime, Beauty could not help reflecting on herself for the uneasiness she was likely to cause poor Beast, whom she sincerely loved and really longed to see again. The 10th night she spent at her father's, she dreamed she was in the palace garden, and that she saw Beast extended on the grass plot, who seemed just expiring, and in a dying voice reproached her with her ingratitude. Beauty started out of her sleep, and bursting into tears, "Am not I very wicked," said she, "to act so unkindly to Beast, that has studied so much to please me in everything? Is it his fault that he is so ugly and has so little sense? Oh, he is
Jenny.
he is kind, Jenny. He is kind and good, and that is sufficient. Why did I refuse to marry him? I should be happier with the monster than my sisters are with their husbands. It is neither wit nor a fine person in a husband that makes a woman happy, but virtue, sweetness of temper, and complaisance. And Beast has all these valuable qualifications. It is true I do not feel the tenderness of affection for him, but I find I have the highest gratitude, esteem, and friendship, and I will not make him miserable. Were I to be so ungrateful, I should never forgive myself." Beauty, having said this, rose, put her ring on the table, and then laid down again. Scarce was she in bed before she fell asleep, and when she waked the next morning, she was overjoyed to find herself in the Beast's palace. She put on one of her finest suits to please him, and waited for evening with the utmost impatience. At last the wished for hour came. The clock struck 9, yet no Beast appeared. Beauty then feared she had been the cause of his death. She ran crying and wringing her hands all about the palace, like one in despair, after having sought for him everywhere. And after having sought for him everywhere, she recollected her dream, and flew to the canal in the garden, where she dreamed she saw him. There she found poor Beast stretched out, quite senseless, and as she imagined, dead. She threw herself upon him without any dread, and finding his heart beat still, she fetched some water from the canal and poured it on his head. Beast opened his eyes and said to Beauty, "You forgot your promise, and I was so afflicted for having lost you that I resolved to starve myself. But since I have the happiness of seeing you once more, I die satisfied." "No, dear Beast," said Beauty, "you must not die. Live to be my husband. From this moment I give you my hand and swear to be none but yours. Alas, I thought I had only a friendship with you, but the grief I now feel convinces me that I cannot live without you." Beauty scarcely had pronounced these words when she saw the palace sparkle with light, and fireworks, instruments of music, everything seemed to give notice of some great event, but nothing could fix her attention. She turned to her dear Beast, for whom she trembled with fear. But how great was her surprise! Beast had disappeared, and she saw at her feet one of the loveliest princes that eye ever beheld, who returned her thanks for having put an end to the charm under which she had so long resembled a beast. Though this prince was worthy of all her attention, she could not forbear asking where Beast was. "You see him at your feet," said the prince. "A wicked fairy had condemned me to remain under that shape till a beautiful virgin should consent to marry me. The fairy likewise enjoined me to conceal my understanding. There was only you in the world generous enough to be won by the goodness of my temper, and in offering you my crown, I can't discharge the obligations I have to you." Beauty, agreeably surprised, gave the charming prince her hand to rise. They went together into the castle, and Beauty was overjoyed to find, in the great hall, her father and his whole family, whom the beautiful lady that appeared to her in her dream had conveyed thither. Oh, so it looks like he had to conceal his wit.
I think that was he was not because in the other story it says it in a different way that he was not
Hmm.
allowed to he couldn't just say
Oh, I
oh
see.
Wait, no. I think you might be talking about something. But I mean, I know that was part of the agreement. He couldn't, if he said it, then he would die. But I think.
Oh yes, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, okay, all right, good.
But okay, I do think they were made for each other, because I'm sorry, if you're looking and you see the beast turn into a guy, and Beauty's like, but where's the beast? It's like,
where's
you
my
guys
beast?
For beauty, for all her beauty, was also very simple as well, and as well read as she was, she had very little sense.
Yeah.
Where are you, beast? I'm right. No, are you serious? That would have been funny. The prince like, really? You didn't just see me. Oh boy. I take it back.
Oh, that's a shame. Like in the Disney one where he raises up in the air and it spins around and comes back down, he's transformed, and she's like, "Oh, it is you!"
Right? Oh yeah. Doesn't she kind of like looks at his eyes or something? Like,
yes, it's his eyes. Yeah.
There you are, Peter. Oh goodness gracious.
There you are, Peter. Oh. I love that movie. Okay. Anyway.
Hook or Beauty and the Beast?
Hook.
Hook, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, so the beautiful lady. Beauty, said this lady, come and receive the reward of your judicious choice. You have preferred virtue before either wit or beauty, and deserve to find a person in whom all these qualifications are united. You are going to be a great queen. I hope the throne will not lessen your virtue or make you forget yourself. As to you, ladies, here we go, said the fairy to Beauty's two sisters, I know your hearts and all the malice they contain. Become two statues, but, under this transformation, still retain your reason. You shall stand before your sister's palace gate, and be it your punishment to behold her happiness, and it will not be in your power to return to your former state till you own your faults. But I am very much afraid that you will always remain statues. Pride, anger, gluttony, and idleness are sometimes conquered, but the conversion of a malicious and envious mind is a kind of miracle. Immediately the fairy gave a stroke with her wand, and in a moment all that were in the hall were transported into the prince's palace. His subjects received him with joy. He married Beauty, and lived with her many years, and their happiness, as it was founded on virtue, was complete. The end. La 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 la. Yay.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
A very fitting punishment for those girls, I think.
And this was the thing that I think it kind of surprised me, the concept of it being punishment with the grace that you have the ability to change, that you can, or provided that your heart is willing to change, you can come out of it. It's not like you are doomed to this for eternity because you are bad people. Even the punishment is going, yes, this is something you're going to have to do, you're going to have to live with. But as soon as you repent, as soon as you turn away from the wickedness, you're no longer statues. It's a temporary punishment, but your hearts are so corrupt that it would be a miracle for that to happen. And I mean, I think that's a lot. And again, not to believe it, because it would be a very controversial thing to get into. But like the idea that it's a rejection of salvation or whatever that is the damnation, not somebody not knowing, not somebody not truly understanding. It's your heart is set against me, and so even I can give you all the opportunities in the world, and I would happily do that. But your heart is so against me, you will never choose to do that. But the offer is always there, which is, it's very kind of counter to an idea of what, grace, where it's like, well, if you don't believe, you're screwed. It's like, no, I want you to believe, but if you were adamantly against me, your heart is so consumed by these things, it's despite the fact that it's against your best interest. 'Cause a lot of people are like, well, if there is a hell, nobody's going to ever want to go there. Well, if you say, well, that's where you go until your heart changes, and I don't think your heart's going to change. I'm not saying that the story was making that parallel, but I think it's a level of depth to the idea of you're your own punishment. It's your own heart and your own wickedness that condemns you, not me,
Exactly.
So I think that was, but yeah, very fitting. And it is anytime, like frozen alive, like a living statue, that is nightmare fuel right there.
That's rough. Yeah.
Oh. Like it's one thing to say you turn into what was it? Oh, in Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, the guy that ended up leading the Númenóreans to try to attack the Valar, I believe it was. He's buried, but he's not like buried alive. Like he's buried under the earth, but he's not his like he's there until the redemption of the world or something. But it's not like he's not like buried under there going, oh my gosh, I can't get out. I'm stuck here forever. He's asleep essentially. But here it says you will retain your reason. Like you'll know damn well that you're a statue and all you can do is look at Bell and do nothing about it. Seethe. That's
that's interesting part because because C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were friends, and in the Silver Chair there's a king who is sleeping under the earth who will only rise at the end of the world. That's interesting.
I have to revisit that. Yeah.
So he wakes up in the last battle and comes out and he's like, yeah. He's like, oh, hello. Okay. That's interesting that they're friends. I wonder if there's some kind of influence for both of them for that. That's very interesting.
What apparently Tolkien didn't much care for Narnia, that.
No.
So C.S. Lewis is probably like, he won't know if I just take this little part and put it in here. He'll never read it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But yeah, and this is what I mean. Like it does get a little bit like with between Beauty's monologue and then like how the Fairy Queen summed it up. Like you are not going to miss the point of this. Virtue is good. Wit, these other things, not so much. And I do. It is interesting because it is a little bit of a rug pull in that. Because you preferred virtue over these other two things, you deserve to find a person with all of them. But in the context that you were saying, where it may be an arranged marriage or something where it's like, you may not get all three, you may go, this guy's an ugly bastard, but I love him, it's,
and the outer appearance, like she says it somewhere in here that, she enjoys his company so much, she doesn't notice his deformity or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's a bit harsh, but yeah. But yeah, you can grow, like people can grow to be beautiful in your eyes.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of more realistic version of, you get all of it. It's like, yeah, okay, cool.
Right. In some manner speaking, it would be interesting if they did it. I mean, again, it's a fairy tale. You don't want to take the magic out of it because that's kind of what makes it a fairy tale. Literally fairy tale. There's fairies involved. But like the idea that he doesn't necessarily become literally transformed, but that she sees him in a different way. He is transformed in her eyes or something where, and even though she still saw him, I mean, again, that wouldn't be a very fairy tale way, and you wouldn't have him literally be a beast. He would just have to be an ugly dude. But, the idea that it's her perception of him that changes, not so much him physically changing. But I mean, that talks about, I guess it's not even whoops. Why was he turned into a beast? In this one, we don't have the fairy queen turning him into that.
No, it just says a wicked fairy. Yeah, a wicked fairy had condemned me to remain under that shape until a beautiful virgin should consent to marry me. And I guess it's kind of implied that the fairy's looking for the right queen. Because she's like,
yes.
He kind of visits her in the dream, says, I've judged you to be worthy. And then like at the end, she's like, I hope you keep your virtue on the throne and don't forget yourself.
That's interesting.
It's kind of framed like, I'm just putting this guy through this until I approve of his match.
Right. Which
I think that's what it is.
And it sounds cool, but like from, again, there's a very heavy religious, undertone throughout this and a lot of the fairy tales, and the idea that we have to endure some things that we don't like, and you go, and it's almost like a Job thing where it's like, I had something to prove, I had something to work. Who are you to question what have I done? Which doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but the idea that you may have to go through some hard things, but he's proving something out in you, because it did prove out for the beast as well. Again, I think this is more like, as you said, this is more about Beauty's story, but for him, getting rejected every single night, that was proving something in him as well, and his continued virtue, his continued, like he didn't force it. He didn't try to, there was no manipulation. Like he literally, he didn't visit her and say, oh, I'm sober. Like, if you don't come back, I'm going to kill myself. Like he was just letting himself quietly die. And when she comes to him, he just says, well, at least I got to see you again. And he's not trying to manipulate her or coerce her in any way. But he wasn't on a clock either, I guess, is the other thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he kind of, I mean, yeah, if she leaves and he decides to keep eating, he could just continue on.
Right.
But no, he loves her. Like, yeah, they're clearly a match. They're clearly, like you said, not the most brilliant people in the world. But
Right.
but they're a really good match. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't know where I was going with that.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I think as an audience, we're supposed to see that as a, like, and especially, I mean, it helps because you can't see, you can't necessarily, you can try to picture him however you want, but you're just, okay, a beast, or they call him a monster, but you don't know, it's not like, from the Black Lagoon, maybe he's got like an eyeball hanging out and he's like licking it with his tongue. Like, it's not grotesque. You just don't really know how beastly he is. He's not pleasant to look at, but like the Disney version, I think is a nice balance where you still go, okay, especially when they do the dark shadows and everything, you don't really, his eyes are brighter and everything, but he's not hideous. He's scary, but he's also, again, they make him fuzzy. He's kind of like a
cute.
big, yeah, exactly. He's got a nasty underbite, but
Yeah. He's creepy looking, but he's also kind of cute. Oh, he's a puppy. Like, he's got that kind of fluffy thing to him. Yeah.
what makeup did they do in your production? What did they do to make him the beast?
The whole headpiece. This whole like,
I
Hang on, I lost you. It's going robot. Oh, still there. Yeah. All right. I'm going to try shutting out Discord completely. I'll be right back. Yep. So we're on the home stretch here, folks. We'll just be wrapping it up here, but definitely want to be able to hear when we're wrapping it up.
okay.
There we go.
That's better. Yay.
We got our own little vocal beauty of version of Beauty and the Beast here, and and her voice was transformed.
It's still me.
All right, so the giant headpiece.
Yes. So they rejected the headpiece. They tried a headpiece, but then they ended up doing like a half headpiece, so you could still see his face, but it was kind of, he had stuff stuck on it and hair and stuff. So it was pretty good. Although the transformation, because we were very low budget, there wasn't any lifting up in the air. He just kind of rolled over, took it all off, and then went, oh. Oh, it is you.
Right.
We were low budget, but yeah, it was it was good though, because he had these like fluffy glove things on, and yeah, it worked.
Was he kind of modeled after the Disney version? Was it its own kind of
It was
aesthetic?
It was modeled after the Broadway version. If you look up pictures of that, you'll kind of see kind of
Beauty and the Beast. Broadway. Okay. So the very prominent horns.
Our horns were a bit smaller, and there was less, like a bit less fur on his head, and he had less of a wig. So
Okay.
Basically that. He didn't have a beard, I don't think. No, he didn't have a beard. He just had like little bits of fluff. We were low budget.
Oh, that's even worse. You can't even grow a full beard.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Okay. Well, and who knows? Maybe in the story, in the mindset that, because especially like I said, considering what it's based on, that abnormal hair growth or whatever. That may be more or less what the thought was. Again, I mean, again, it's a discredit to the guy's kids that he was like, oh no, he's too fearsome to take on. But it's like, oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, because that's still freaky. I mean, just the horns alone would be kind of like,
Yeah.
Although then you have the Twilight generation where it's like, he's literally a blood-sucking vampire. And it's like, nah, that's cool.
He's sparkly though. Yay.
I'm a
It makes
killer.
all the
Though.
difference.
Oh, really?
So one notable exemption, or huge difference, there is no Gaston. There's not even, the closest you could get is the one husband who was mean to his wife. That was, or was he unfaithful? There was one that was used his wit to insult her, and then there was one where I think he was
so fond of his own person that he was full of nothing but his own dear self and neglected his wife. Yeah, that's very Gaston-y there.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think it works to have an antagonist like that. But it's interesting because if you think like Cinderella is a fine story, and her adversary, other than like the time, turning into a pumpkin and everything, or the stuff turning into a pumpkin, was literally her sisters and her stepmother. She didn't really have a manifested antagonist, somebody who was actively trying to stop her.
And don't forget the cat, Lucifer.
Oh, right. Yes. No.
The evil cat, thwarting the mice.
Yeah. No, I totally forgot about him. Yep. No, he was true. He was really, that was the story hinged around Lucifer. That's, and a very subtle naming too,
Yes,
Satan the cat. But yeah, so that's what, at the outset, just this is probably the most, I don't know for all of the stories, but this is probably the furthest from the source material that I think I've seen from a Disney production, just in that they created so many characters, all the characters in the castle. Obviously, Gaston's, what was his name? His sidekick?
LeFou.
LeFou. That's
LeFou. It means the fool. Literally.
Oh, does it really?
Fool. Yeah.
Which would have worked for Gaston as well. I mean, they both were kind of
Yeah.
in the same boat. But yeah, so I don't think I could call it, fault any of the I mean, the making the dad an inventor, I don't know in terms of like what did it add to the story, like why did they go that, because it wasn't like it didn't impact her at all. She was just kind of wafting regardless.
Yeah. Although in the remake they made her the inventor, and so she invented a washing machine, and they made him into he made music boxes like of his dead wife. That was his. He sat in a room and made music boxes and talked about how great Belle was. And I'm like, well, that's not good.
Yeah, it's decidedly unhealthy.
That's not good, guys. Yeah. And then she didn't invent anything to help in the story. She just was like, I'm the inventor and I made a washing machine and that's all I'm going to do with that. So, yeah, I don't like the remake. I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, go.
No. You're on train of thought.
Oh, but the inventor thing yeah, you're right. It's kind of pointless in a way. I guess they wanted to give him some kind of profession and a reason to get into the forest, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. It's streamlined. And also and why they took out her being, because I think if you're gonna go the whole I want much more of this provincial life, maybe show her again doing the chores, show her doing the stuff like she does in the original, and then you have a little bit more reason to go, okay, it's kind of a rough life. Like, this is not a charm thing. Maybe she doesn't have to have not Snow White where she's in, rags and everything. You can keep her in the nice dress, but you showing her doing some work, and it's not the baker with the tray like always. It's me with my scrubbing like always. It's this repetitious scrounging out a living type thing, almost like more of an Aladdin type deal where it's like, it's just not, things aren't all that great. Whereas this, she's just walking around, spinning around the village and just, hello, I got my little croissant and now I got my book and, oh, this life is hell, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cute. Oh, woe is me. Oh, I'm gonna run on this hill and sing about it. Yeah.
Right? Oh, a sheep ate my
Mm.
book. Uh, but yeah, it's so like I think that might be the only change, because I think that it just makes her
Yeah.
a better character in general, like a more sympathetic character at the very least,
Mm.
at the outset. So that I don't understand that change quite as much, but um,
So that's why I had the theory that they're both supposed to be like kids at the beginning, because
mm,
she's basically, yeah, doing nothing but reading children's stories and just thinking her life is so hard. And
yeah,
that's my theory, but I
mhm,
don't know. I don't know. Like in the Broadway version and then in the remastered anniversary version of the cartoon, they added another song called Human Again. And in the
mhm,
middle of that song, there's a scene where um in the Broadway version, she reads a book to the Beast. In the animated anniversary, she reminds him how to read. And both of the books that she chooses are adult books at that point. So
oh,
instead of choosing a fairy tale, she's in the Broadway one, she chooses King Arthur, which is still a fairy tale kind of mythical world, but it's an adult one. And
mhm,
then in the anniversary version, it's Romeo and Juliet. And
oh,
so it's kind of like, okay, she's moved on, excuse me, to a more adult book. So that's my theory, that she's a kid at the beginning and you can see it through her books, but I don't know. I don't.
right. No, that's a benefit of the doubt. Because weird, because it doesn't say, like you said, it says good books, not children's books, or not tales from her
Yeah.
youth. There's a way to phrase it, doesn't
Mm,
sound condescending, but it was still good books.
mm,
And it's just
yeah.
it's interesting they picked up on that, when like that's the only line really that we get
Mm,
in the original story is she read good books, and it's like,
mm,
so that became,
yeah.
but not to a detriment. I think it's a good, like you were saying, if that was their intent as a way to gauge maturity, is to show the the fairy tales and then more adult versions later on.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's what it is. And it's only coupled with because he's 11 as well at the beginning, and so I'm like, I don't know, but I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Mm,
I would say ultimately, I think for the time, like was it 90 minutes? I think probably maybe a little
mhm.
bit more. Trying to get all the elements in there, and I really do. I liked the rose. In this that whole that you
Yeah.
again the ticking clock. They did that with was it Snow White? No, Little Mermaid. They
Mhm.
put that on there to drive it forward, to give it a little more anxiety, and then giving the beast. And I think that really goes to, we alluded to it earlier, but what you were saying, that this may have been more of a beast story, and that he got a time to shine, where instead of just kind of laying there going, I'm such a sad sack that when you left, I just was going to starve myself to death. He gets this really cool battle with this, hitherto considered to be, the peak of alpha male, and
Mm.
he's able to contest him. Although I would almost say that was, to me, it almost felt more like a nod to Gaston, that this normal guy could take on a beast of that size. It was almost just as much of a, like, it felt like Gaston had Beast had the advantage, but the way it played out, I think they matched him up pretty well.
Yeah, they're both massive,
Yeah.
and every last inch of him is covered with hair as well.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah.
That is true. It would have been funny if you
There
could saying
is
that.
there is that moment like before when he thinks Belle isn't coming back, the Beast is like, it doesn't matter, just let them come when they're coming to kill him, and
That's
he's just
true.
laying
Yeah.
there like, but then he sees her and he's like, right, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Which we love that. Yeah.
Yes.
So there
Yeah.
is still that element of him, like, yeah, because he genuinely loves her, and it's really, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. Anyway.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, I think yeah, overall, just a different way of doing it. A few things I think we missed from character, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to think, the Like I'm wondering if we. Well, yeah, I don't think we missed much with the sisters not being there. It's because they were
No.
just nasty pieces of work. It was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah,
And
I
I
guess
guess
we
they
give.
kind of added in those three blonde women who were like Gaston's groupies. In the Broadway, they just called silly girls.
Oh,
The
really?
three silly girls. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so they're there, I guess, but they're not mean. They're just kind of vapid.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a fun audition, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think Disney filled it with a lot of really good elements.
Mm.
Yeah, it's. I guess I appreciate. Yeah, really. Because I think I said, and I knew I felt bad because you mentioned that you could relate to Belle, and I was like, and I just went on that tirade. But it
Oh
really is
yeah.
just those two parts in the movie. But that's not all that bad. It's like, okay, your intro song is a little bit like, hey, what's going on? But then aside from the disobedience, like she was very I could, reading this, I could see how that could fit her very well. Like
Hmm.
it wouldn't have taken a lot to get her to to be almost spot on with this, just maybe not as verbose.
Yeah.
But
And I agree. Like, yeah, she should have been hardworking in the beginning. There should have been something of that part of her. Because yeah, that's lost. That's definitely lost there. And she doesn't do anything in the castle either. She just kind of
mm,
hangs around. She brings joy, and yeah, but yeah, she doesn't really do anything either.
yeah,
Which I get. Like once you're in the castle, you're not really doing anything. But yeah, beforehand there should have definitely been something like that.
yeah, yeah. But then they had
And
the
then
grand ballroom scene, the
yes,
CG
the
glory.
first ever computer animated Disney scene. They were
Mm-hmm.
so excited. That was so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. This is a lot of fun. First of all, I think like this actually made it more streamlined. I probably would have rambled for whatever, but I mean we're coming to right about 2.5 hours, which I think is respectable for a story of this length.
Very efficient. Yeah.
Um, and appreciate your reading too. For some reason, especially when I'm doing it on a computer, like sometimes my eyes skip over and I screw over words, and it just
Mm.
feels like it puts too many speed bumps in what should otherwise be a nice smooth read there. But yeah, the
Yeah,
original.
a
If you
couple of
ever,
times my eyes were like,
oh
But
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the actual original, like I said, it's got a lot more on the back end of why he was cursed,
Mm.
and I think if I'm not mistaken, his. Oh yeah, and that one, Beauty is actually royalty already, and
Oh, okay.
she was her identity was hidden, and she was so almost got like a Princess Leia thing going. But I mean, it got so convoluted and so like political. It was very like
Mm.
Game of Thrones, Beauty and the Beast, or Beauty and the Beast Game of Thrones edition is what I would call it. It just seemed so many
Cool.
more political machinations. So it was interesting, but not interesting enough for me to actually read the whole thing. I saw enough
Mhm.
like on Wikipedia to be like, okay, that's cool, but I feel like we're missing the important part of the story, which is
Mhm.
the idea of the virtues and the yeah the her virtues and his, and how they can how they work together, which to be fair, it's a pretty hefty task to try to do that and say, okay, we're going to make this entertaining for as a vehicle of entertainment versus as a more or less instructional and teaching fairy tale. Like there's the whimsy and the magic in there, but to try to translate that to a screen, I think Disney did a good job of,
Hmm.
at least in that version, in the original version.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot in there, and the more like if you want to spend time kind of delving into it more, you can find all the extra things. Like I think Linda Wolverton wrote a really interesting script, really interesting characters, lots that wasn't overtly said, that was
Mm,
just in there if you want to look for it. Yeah, it's really good.
yeah,
It's really
yeah.
good. That's why I think it changed the Oscars. I think they wanted to make it Best Picture, but they had to like I think did they invent a new category? at that point, or did they? I can't even remember. Something like that, but they changed the way the Oscars worked. Excuse me.
Let's see. Let's see. It says Disney incorrectly claimed that Beauty and the Beast won the Best Picture Oscar in '92, but it actually won the Best Original Score and Best Original Song. Silence of the Lambs won the Best Picture. The statement appeared on a but yeah, maybe they maybe, but maybe what you're saying, like maybe that animated features could not.
Yeah,
win?
I think that's what it was.
Oh, there we go. Oscars: How Beauty and the Beast changed animation. Beauty and the Beast was a big turning point when we won the Golden Globe for Best Musical Comedy. Campaigned animated films. I think it was actually because they pitched it as an Oscar worthy type thing. Like it's saying we campaigned in a way that animated films had not done before.
Okay.
We did Q&A panels. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess maybe it was the first animated film to actually win an Oscar, just period.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that ages ago, so I can't quite remember exactly what it was. But yes.
Yeah, definitely. So it's nice when something older can give you appreciation not only of the older thing but of the not so older thing. So was it, what do you say, 1756 and 1992. But
yeah.
So just out of curiosity, so out of obviously not really big on the remake version, but between the theatrical, the original, and the fairy tale, out of those three, what would you say resonates the most, or if you had to pick one that was going to live on as the official Beauty and the Beast story, which one do you think would be the winner in that?
I'd love to see an animated version of the written one and see how that stacks up, because I love the Beast in the animated one, so I'm like, I can't let him go. No. But I love the messaging of the original, and I think I'd rather that one survive if I had to choose. Yeah, I'd choose that one.
You choose it? I concur. I would. I wonder if it could be done. If it, as in a visual medium as a movie, if it would still be something where you would be thinking of a children audience, or would you be like maybe a young adult to like teen? Because it seems like, again, the themes of it, especially in these days, I mean that would be something that adolescent, when you start to become of the age to make those kind of decisions. When you're talking about marriage and what the nature of love and everything is, that seems to be more demonstrative. It would be more suited as a demonstration or a story for that age group, maybe late teens, early 20s than a child. But yet it is written as a fairy tale. You said you read it at 9 or around those.
Yeah, I think because it's described as at the top of here, it says it's a tale for the entertainment of juvenile readers, which is like teens, I'd say.
Yeah.
That kind of, it just says not yet an adult, typically someone under the age of 18. So
right.
So yeah, I'd say probably for young adult people, maybe a live action then, but with not much CGI, please.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Or tasteful CGI. Yes, tasteful CGI. Or really good prosthetics.
Right.
And yes.
Yeah, it seems people are kind of warming back up to they're liking practical effects more and more. It's like a movie is, if you can say it has practical effects, people are like, oh, cool. Did you know they shot that? That was actually shot on a real place without a green screen.
Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, because there's just been too much bad CGI, I think. So it's just like, It's wonderful to see the contrast. Mm.
Now we haven't talked about this at all, but wasn't there was a Beauty and the Beast TV show, right?
Oh yeah,
I never
with
saw that.
I watched some of it. I think she was like a detective, and
Oh.
he was like a handsome guy, but he had like weird tattoos on him or something. I watched it ages ago.
He looks like okay, remember the makeup that they had for like Planet of the Apes? He kind of looks like that with Flock of Seagulls haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was not a classic retelling. It was a, like you said, she's a
No.
detective.
Oh, there was one. Yeah, so there's been a couple. There's one in the 80s apparently, I'm seeing, and there was one, yeah, where he's got, yeah,
Oh
just
yeah, that came out
kind of,
before the movie even.
it was 2012 for that one, which was, yeah, I started watching it. It was kind of, yeah, it was a bit silly. So I didn't.
Loosely based.
Hmm. Oh, the one from the 80s. The Adventures of Romance of a Sensitive and Cultured Lion Man and a Crusading Assistant District Attorney in Manhattan, New York. Oh no. Oh no, no, no.
Okay, so admittedly, I felt a little bit bad for completely glazing over that, but now I don't feel bad about it at all. That's just a
No.
uh,
It
loosest
was a
version of
French
a.
movie.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, because it wasn't that the movie that then I think Disney based. I think Disney never went to the original fairy tales with a lot of stuff. Like I know Snow White. There was a 1917 version, like a silent film that Walt Disney saw that he, or 1915 that he based his off of.
Oh, there's a 1946 La Belle et la Bête. That,
The beast looks like a giant gerbil. Ah.
yeah.
Brr. Oh,
Okay, that is, yeah, yeah, that would be hard to marry.
yeah, right. Yeah, he does look very simple though, and very. I'm not a smart gerbil, but I know what love is. Okay, so maybe practical effects aren't the best way to go. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Let's get like Jim Henson's Creature Workshop involved, and then I'll be like,
right.
okay, that's
Yeah, because you definitely want your actor to be able to emote through that. If they're gonna have this conversation, you need to see that he's sad and everything. Which is, I think that's why the original animated works so well, because the way they animate facial expressions, you can make his eyes go twice as big. It's not comical, but it is cartoonish in a way. But it makes him very expressive in a way that I think is very hard to pull off otherwise.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like in the remake, he just kind of stands there doing stuff, and you're like, oh, what's going on inside your head? And he's like, I have a CGI head. I can't tell you.
I've got little balls attached to my face. It's a green hood,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm just kind of giving the voice right now. Yeah, I have argued that I think depending on the production, having to do green screen work is some of the hardest acting you have to do, because half the time nothing is there.
Yeah, you gotta have a really good imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's like, yeah, am I looking at the right spot? What's going on?
Yeah, well, especially when it's that tennis ball. That's this really big menacing monster that you need to be terrified of. That tennis ball.
Oh yeah.
It's a big ball. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Oh no. Although
Yep.
one time I was in a show where there was a killer coming for me, and I had to run down a hallway and then be like and slam the door, and it was just the camera guy chasing me down the hallway. And I looked really convincing. I looked terrified. It was like, oh, and then like his hand burst through and like with a knife and tried to go at me, and one of my friends was like, "You look like you're in The Shining." I'm like, I know, I was gonna die. Like, so it's fun to pretend, but it can be really tricky.
So you have a deal. That wasn't just kind of one off with the Beauty and the Beast. You've actually done performance in general. That was a career for a while.
Yeah, it was a bit like I managed to make money off it for maybe 5 years before I became a house sitter. Yeah, and I like some of it was like television commercials and extras work, and I was a one of the killers on Deadly Women, which is an American show about yeah, female killers. So I got to fire a gun with blanks, and it was
Oh,
very fun.
nice.
It was very fun. But yeah, then I also worked at a theme park. So I worked in a haunted house, and I was a character performer as well to make ends meet. So I'd wander around interacting with people. So that was really fun too.
Wow.
But yeah, I've done a lot of like most of my theatre's been amateur theater.
Mhm.
But that was like 20 years of amateur theater. So yeah, a lot of acting. Yeah.
And what was there? And again, we don't have to go too deep into it, but like, was there an impetus to just go, okay, like you said, you switched over to the more of that, like the house setting, I guess, more of a traditional or normal, a steady job, I guess. Was it? Did you just get burned out with it, or was it just wasn't something that was appealing anymore, or?
I know it was still really fun. Like I still like last year over here I was in a couple of musicals. And with the house sitting, I was actually at the same time helping to launch a true crime walking tour company with also they did theater on location. So while I was at my house, I'd be like researching stories and writing them and then help to actually perform the tours and train up staff to continue them. And then we'd do theater on locations kind of around Australia, wherever like happened to be. And I'd do like advertising for it and then find a cast and direct them and then we'd go do it. And so it was kind of still keeping that alive as I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Heck yeah, that's
So
awesome.
it's always been a part of my life since I discovered it. I loved it at like 20 or something, like 18. Discovered I loved
Wow.
theater and performance. Yeah.
So was it high school like you jumped into, or college when you started doing that?
Just after high school, I was actually, yeah, I just got a random um flyer in the mail about auditions for a pantomime, and I went, okay, I'm gonna go audition, and I did, and I'm like, this is great, and off
Mm.
I went.
And she was
So,
off.
that's all right.
Good deal.
So much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. And
Mm.
is that something to still pursue? Like you'd still like to continue to pursue, kind of like do what you did then now, where you're able to, kind of work something on the side and then be able
Mm.
to pursue it as a hobby, more or less,
Yeah,
or.
yeah, definitely. Like last year I was in three shows actually. Yeah, I was in three shows. I was in two musicals and then we did a Christmas Carol as well. So it was like a radio show from like the 1920s. So we're all Americans, but then we
Mhm.
were acting out all the different roles from Christmas Carol as well in it. So it was really fun. It's really
Oh, that
fun.
sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I just want to keep it a part of my life. I love performing. It's just so much fun.
I should have suspected, just because when we initially talked, I was like, do you want to have like a little avatar or something, or do and usually it's people are like, yeah, they're terrified of being on camera. When you're just like, no, it's totally cool, I'll just do this. I was like, that's awesome, but it should have clicked. She's probably got some background in that, because most mortals do not embrace willingly
Mm.
the performative exposure, I should say. So.
Yeah, it's true. Like so many people are like I don't know how you get up on stage and do that. I'm like, I'm home. I get on stage and I'm home. That's just the way I'm wired. It's different for yeah, just different for different people. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. If we all wanted to do it, then it would be a very crowded stage and a very empty theater, So.
Yeah. The audience is just as important. We need them. We
Oh,
need that
yeah.
audience. Otherwise, yeah, that's just sad.
Yeah. And what was it? We did, but like I think it was just post college. We actually did Dickens. They actually had it sounds like the theater on location. It was very, very various locations. Like you had to procure a new location for each show. And was it where you'd start off in point A and you'd kind of guide the audience through several different
Yes.
locations?
So, for example, the very first show we did was Confessions of a Serial Killer, which
Mhm.
I wrote and directed. I'm really proud of it. And
Hey.
basically, the audience is part of the show. So you turn up, and two police officers meet you and say, "Look, we have a serial killer. He's actually turned himself in, and he wants to confess, but he wants to do it in front of a group of the general public, and they kind of become the jury. He wants to kind of lead them through and plead his case, and he introduces
Oh.
them to several different characters and situations and contexts for what he's, and then goes from there. But yeah, you kind of go through, like, it was in a bushland kind of park, and so we take them to different creepy spots throughout the park.
Sweet. So like
That was
12 Angry
very
Men, but not stuffed in a little room. Kind of.
Yeah.
Able to- That's great. Holy cow. And I mean, was
I
that
the stage manager for 12 Angry Men, and I had my
Oh,
12 men. I'm like, look, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You're all adults. Look, yeah, and they were really good at taking care of each other, and then yeah, it was great. I'm just here to make sure you're all happy.
right?
Don't get angry at me, okay? Yeah.
If you have a problem, blame the person with the headset. That's the rule. That's what I learned at a
Right.
tender age with working in. Yeah, if they got the headset on, you can. That's all your fault.
Mhm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
true diva
Like
behavior.
it's not, and I can explain why. Have a seat.
Oh, good deal. Good deal. Well, now here's the question for future. Is there another fairy tale that is near and dear? So, like, where would you rank Beauty and the Beast in terms of top 5? Like, would it be in the top 5, or are there other ones that are actually even higher?
Little Mermaid's number 1.
Is
I
it
love
really?
the
Okay.
ending of the original fairy tale. Yeah, I love the whole. Yeah, the sacrifice she makes and then the reward she gets. It's really cool. That was always my favorite. And then I'd say Beauty and the Beast is up there. Trying to think. Like the next Disney one that I could rant about for is how they changed Alice in Wonderland. This drives me nuts. Drives me nuts.
Now that was based on the Looking Glass, or the
It was based on both. They kind of mushed them together and took away the whole point. Because
Oh, no kidding.
the whole point of those stories is like this is an intelligent little girl. She's having a dream, but she's going into this world, and people are just stating their logical fallacies and cognitive dissonance and all this stuff to her, and she's just like, no, no, that's silly. Like, and so many of the quotes. Like, okay, my favorite quote to kind of sum up the books is Humpty Dumpty saying to her, "When I use a word, it means exactly what and it's precisely what I intend it to mean, neither more nor less." And that's basically what she's dealing with, and it's all about just they kind of took it all out and they just made it about nonsense. And it's not about nonsense. It's about how human beings think and what delusions they can put themselves in, and kind of how people get comfortable in their reality, and then she comes into their reality and is like, no. I love that about those books.
What are they robust? They're not terribly long, right? The books, or are they?
They're a decent amount of time.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had audio cassettes of them. They were like, 2 cassettes worth.
Okay.
Each one. So not too. Yeah. You get the reference. It's like
It's not too bad.
A couple of times. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to think ones that aren't. See, there's like Snow White and Rose Red, but that's not a Disney one. Or there's I do like Hansel and Gretel because it depends what version.
Like the original.
I don't even know if my one was the original, but it's whatever one I read was, it was dark and brutal, but also really hopeful. I'm trying to think of the Disney ones. Oh, not this one, the Snow Queen. I love that story. The original story of the Snow Queen. It's got nothing to do with Frozen. Nothing at all to do with Frozen.
Wait.
Frozen is supposed to be based on the Snow Queen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Okay, that might be interesting to look at, because I honestly I'm probably one of the 4 people in the world that hasn't seen Frozen yet, but
oh, well done.
I
envy you. No, I'm joking.
I mean,
It's not a
it
bad
helped that
movie.
I was at that point, like most of the Disney stuff, because you had Disney that was right at my age, like I was pretty much the right age for like Aladdin and all that stuff as a young teen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, I wasn't quite a teenager yet.
Yeah.
I was 10, 11, whatever. And then Disney kind of transitioned into Pixar more type stuff, which was appealing to a younger adult as well as children. So I kind of got lucky there. So then when they went back and like at that point though, else it seemed that one and then Tangled, I think. When they went back to like original stories, I didn't go back because they just seemed like it was a younger targeted type deal. But I haven't seen that one either actually. But
I would recommend Tangled. I wouldn't recommend Frozen.
Yeah, really.
Tangled is, yeah. I think Tangled is better. Than just fighting words, but yes, I do.
Well, put it this way: from my impressions of Frozen, it was part of like I had friends, especially friends that had kids, where it's a really good movie and everything, but they'd tell me about it. I'm going, I don't think I'd like that. Honestly, I don't. I like, especially, and I'm not, obviously I haven't seen it, so I can't say that this definitively, but like, if the idea is when you say true love and it ends up being your sister, it's like, that's not for me. Like I don't watch it for familial love. Like that's a different kind of love. Like these are not the same things. And so to say, well, it's truly my love that I have for my sister, it's like, that's not even in the same vicinity. It is love, but they're so different that it doesn't take the place of it. And so it's just it just didn't sit right with me, I guess, but maybe I should watch it. We should do one of those because if there's a better story that it was based on, then perhaps claws out and just compare the two because I do.
The Snow Queen is nothing to do with it, so I don't even know. How you could compare them? Like it's literally nothing. It was supposed to be. But like originally, okay, fun fact. The song "Let It Go" it's supposed to be a villain song. It was written as a villain song.
What?
Yeah, because she was supposed to be the villain. Like that song is not a happy song. If you actually listen to it, she's like, "I'm stuck in my trauma and I don't care." That's what that song is. But when the people behind it heard it, they went, "Oh, let's make her the hero."
Oh,
yeah.
That explains. Oh wow, that's golly day. That's and there's that phrase that people I've seen you see more often. Call evil good and good evil, and it's I feel like you're seeing that more and more, and not like that's obvious. I mean, not if you don't know that backstory, like I didn't know it, but once you hear that, you're like, that makes a lot of sense in a horrible way. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pathetic.
I know. I was like, oh, come on, guys. Because the original concept art, it was all she was supposed to be the villain. Because in the Snow Queen, she's the villain, and but no, they changed it, and it was about sisterly love instead. I'm like, no, please don't, please stop that. Why would you do that?
So it's antithetical almost. It's not just not a faithful adaptation. It's inverted almost. Jeez Louise.
It's Hollywood, baby.
Not much of a compliment these days. I have a feeling that would be a trend if you were to look at most of what was it? Milan. That was still an old school. When did that come out? I don't think that was very far along. Disney.
Yeah, I think it was late 90s. I'm pretty sure.
98. Yeah. Because that seemed to still have.
That's a funny movie. Have you seen that?
Have
you seen that one?
I've seen a lot of it. I don't think I ever sat down just to watch it in particular, but like I got a bunch of. I saw a lot of it to the point where like I know what happens and the arc and everything. And of course it's got Eddie Murphy in there. Is
Eddie Murphy, yeah.
Yeah. But so that was a good one then.
That's a surprisingly hilarious movie for its context and everything. There's a lot of funny moments in that movie. But it rides a line between comedy and really serious stuff. So it's actually
we have the backdrop of war, right? I mean, that's
and the contrast. Like they sing this really funny song about a girl worth fighting for, and they're doing ridiculous things and imagining stuff, and all of a sudden it hard cuts to this destroyed town, and they find a little doll in the snow, and that's a girl worth fighting for. And it has those moments
Ooh.
of comedy plus hard cut to reality. Yeah.
That's kind of the
It's
Broadway.
a good one.
Huh? It's a good one.
Oh, sorry,
actually,
yeah.
but like, you know, like Broadway, I feel like does that. Like, and I can't. I don't remember it well enough, but like Into the Woods, I remember had a lot of. It wasn't maybe as immediate as that, but it had, you know, the comedy, and then it just gets really, really dark. But I feel like on stage productions, a lot of times you'll have that where it's somebody singing and all the energy there, and then it just drops to a spotlight, and he looks down and the music kind of quiets, and then it's like you said, you kind of what was it? The ending for Cabaret. You know, where it's like it's the guy who the entire time he's the MC and he's all energetic, and then he's puts I think you know it's got the Jewish star or whatever on there, and you're like, oh god, just like a gut punch. So that kind of, and to find that in an animated, okay, I need to watch Milan now. I need to watch it. I know when the remake came out, a lot of people didn't like it, but
no, that was terrible.
Again, losing everything that made the original.
I actually played the witch.
What?
Into the Woods. I played the witch. Yeah.
Did you really?
One of my favorite roles. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So good. So much fun.
I need to watch that show again. Have they made a movie like about that? Like, or can you
find
like?
Yes, they have. I did not recommend that movie.
Okay.
But you can find the original Broadway cast on YouTube. It's just the entire show's there.
Okay. So, I'll watch that then.
No, they Disneyfied it, and like so the Prince Charming, the whole thing with him is like in the first half he's chasing after Cinderella and he gets her, and then the second half he's bored with her because he's caught her, so then he goes off and chases Snow White. But in the Disney version, he just stays with Cinderella, and then she runs away, and he's like, oh no, and that's it. And I'm like, come on.
My favorite line in that I can remember from that stage play, because there's probably a lot more great lines, but it stuck out. I was raised to be charming, not sincere. Oh,
yep.
Man.
Perfect.
Gosh. They messed. I can't believe that was like the big thing where it just goes beyond the happily ever after. Like that's the whole point. Is it seems like it's amazing, and then you see how it can fall apart because real world gets in there. I mean, that's my impression. I saw it in 11th grade, so.
No, you're correct.
But,
yeah. It's all whimsical and slightly dark, and isn't this funny? And then like, okay, here's the reality. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which
really good.
I'm glad The Little Mermaid didn't go quite that hard, but because the first time I read it, I didn't go that deep into it. I thought that the prince that she fell in love with, I thought he had been like, oh, you're really cool, and then just bailed on her and gone off. And it wasn't. He was a really nice guy. He turned out to be a nice guy, but the reality of it, like there are plenty of horrible guys out there. Just because you're a prince doesn't mean you're great. So in my recollection initially, I was like, I thought it was a good cautionary tale that she fell in love with a guy that she didn't even know, and he turned out to be a complete a-hole. And in the other one, it's not no fault of his really. It just kind of didn't work out for a number of reasons, but it still didn't work out. And I think that was part of it didn't go as planned, but she still got what she wanted ultimately. But
yeah, it's like what's the most important thing really, I guess. Like, what do you value the most? And if you actually do love this person, are you going to sacrifice them for your own needs, or are you going to actually love them and let them live their life? Yeah.
Now, one last question. This gets a little bit ties into a bit of a thing that we talked about earlier, just in terms of, I guess you'd say religion or Christianity or a faith-based thing. We talk about souls and all that kind of stuff. Do you think the retellings, even if they're very good retellings, if they leave those parts out, if those parts aren't as potent, in order to get more people that may not have those views or that may be kind of put off by it, do you think it doesn't diminish the story enough to be at a detriment to not have that in there? Or is it better to have a smaller audience perhaps, but have it resonate in that level. And it doesn't have to be an absolute. I'm just curious because they do leave pretty much any of that is out of all the Disney stuff. But you could argue it doesn't need to be in there, and that what it does present isn't whatever, or is at the heart of the story kind of thing.
My view is kind of full on. It's very meta. I think Western society was founded on Christian morals, and the more that society moves away from those, the less of society we have. I think it's important to maintain those things. I know Disney, I mean, not as much these days, but at least in the 90s, they did still try to have. Actually, no, not even in the 90s. I think they were subtly moving away from the Christian values. They just were good at disguising it back then, I think. I think it's a shame. And I think it's a shame. I would much prefer them to be more like the original. I would love, okay, the Daily Wire was going to do a Snow White, and they were going to do a traditional one, and it fell through, but I wish that they had, because it was going to be more of the traditional values in there, and I think that would have been really cool. And there was an audience for it. I kept on seeing people are really disappointed. So I think the audience is there. I think they will come out for it. It's just, it's not being provided because it's Hollywood, baby. And that's a shame.
I think that's changing, which it sounds like there may be, again, for what you're passionate about, it's decentralizing to a degree. And I think, you had the Renaissance after the Dark Ages, if I recall correctly. And I think it may be premature, but I think 2030, around then, there's going to be enough of the stuff that falls away that there's going to be a kind of, because I really feel like just a dearth of creativity. Like there's plenty of stuff where you can argue, values or ideology or whatever, but the presentation of entertainment has been horrible, by and large, I would say, for about a good decade. And so it's like there's a fresh Dark Ages, and I think whether it's 2030 or beyond, that there's going to be a decentralization of that, and a resurgence of values. And you're already seeing people, I think, craving like justice, stories about justice being served, which is kind of what we're seeing. That's not the point of Beauty and the Beast, but the people that do bad things happen to them. They're not just like, oh, well, it's totally cool. And I feel like that's a trend now. It's like the villains it's not even a comeuppance. There's really no accountability. It just, they do crappy things. And then it's like, but you I don't know, you shot this guy and that makes you a good guy now. It's like it's an aversion to portray wickedness as wickedness and to punish it, or to have it shown the fruits, reaping the results of that wickedness. And it doesn't necessarily make for a warm, fuzzy story, but I think that there is a desire to see more of that, because there's a dearth of it, a dearth in these days, but just good story.
It's a more truthful story. A more truthful story with consequences. Yeah. Be nice. And it's going back to Frozen. It's like, if she does all these, like, she freezes the kingdom and she's attacking people, and then at the end she's like, oh, I just don't have to be afraid anymore. Love. Everyone's like, yay, good job. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about anyone affected by this? Okay.
Right.
Good. All right, that's fine. You're happy. Yep.
As long as it's people are faceless, I think, like, because I have the same beef, and I won't go into the whole thing, but like just with comic books where the hero will be like, oh, these innocent people died, and they give him like a little token nod, but it's like, do you understand? Like this was somebody's mother, and it's like, because there's a panel of these people getting like murdered, and Spider-Man's like, oh, I feel so bad. It's like, well, you had a chance to kill this guy and you didn't, so how bad do you feel really, about these? But because if they're just a mass of people, if they're not individual, like we don't know their names, then we don't seem to mind when the people are affected. We only care about the people that the story's about. And so if they're just the extras, their background talent, well,
Yeah.
they all died. You don't think about the consequences. This is in real life. This person is no less the part of their own main story than the characters that we're watching is, and all they know is, oh, good, our hero's here. Oh no, wait, he doesn't. He's going to go sulk about how hard his decisions are, and my mom just got her head cut off. Well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah. That's
but I
not
get
good.
No, but that's kind of the same thing you're saying with there. It's like, hey, I did stuff, people got hurt, but it's all good now. And I do wonder. Final question. Could you do a lot of musical theater and such? Does Frozen have the same? I mean, because you know how music can impact. If that song isn't in there, this catchy song that everybody loved, it just got so much attention. That song's not in the movie. Does the movie still have the popularity and force behind it, or is it buoyed in a large part by the affiliation of that song? Because I know for me personally, there are movies that I've liked that when I look back, I don't like, but I like the music in it. And so it made me think I did. I'm not trying to lead the question. I'm just, so yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like with the Lion King remake, and Jon Favreau was like, yeah, you just need to put the music in, and people like, we could just do anything on the screen, but it's the music, and people cry at the music, and you're like, yeah. Yeah, I know. I see how you leaned on the music. Yes, John. Yes, definitely. That was a little bit bitchy. I'm sorry.
No, you are honest and kind.
I was honest. Yes, I cannot tell a lie. I cannot.
Virtue.
Yes. That's a really good question, because that is. Oh, yeah. If that song's not in there. Oh, that's interesting. Because there are other good songs in it, but that song at that particular moment in the story, I think really makes it to that level of audience capture. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd say it would make a big difference.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
We did
Yeah.
Midsummer Night's Dream in high school.
Oh yeah, I played Puck.
Did you really? That's a robust part. That is a heck of a
love that
part.
role. That was so fun. Anyway,
And
yeah.
that is a rhyming character, right? Yeah, because she's she's the fairy.
It's
so,
a boy,
yeah.
but I was a girl, so yeah.
Right.
I had
but
short
like,
hair. It was like, yeah, okay.
well, it's like they did that with Peter
Anyways.
Pan. In most productions of Peter Pan, Peter's played by a gal too, if I recall. Right? Is that?
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, no, in our production as well, Danielle Johnson played. Shout out Danielle. She played Puck as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know that I've actually seen a production of it without with it being a guy, because I mean it is very, very sprightly is the role. But our directors threw in so we had the fifth act where it's just the goofy play and everything, but they threw in like a dance number at the end with some whatever the music was at the time, but it was like between the energy of the commoners and their ridiculous play, and then this dance number at the end, it really left it on a high note that you don't normally get from like necessarily a Shakespeare play, especially in a high school. So it's like a very, but I just remember, so it's like even if you were going, okay, this is okay, or we were enjoying it, if you really hit that note, you hit the energy, whether it's a dance number, a spectacle of some kind, people can tend to leave thinking they got more out of it than they really did, or that it was more energetic or more exciting than it was. And so that's when I kept hearing this song. And anytime people would talk about that movie, it was always related to that, almost always related to that song. They weren't talking about the plot points or, this emotion when these two characters, there was none of that. It was just, let it go, let it go. And I mean, I've heard part of the song. I still haven't heard the whole thing, but I'm like, it does sound cool. And it sounds, as you said, if you're not listening to the lyrics, it sounds uplifting and like an anthem of some kind. But it's like, if you take that away, what exactly, how much was trickery with, not overtly, but were people just thinking, oh, it's this powerful movie. It's like, there's a powerful song, maybe a powerful moment, but the movie as a whole, does it have the gas to really drive home a point, or is, sibling love all that exciting?
A lot of it was like, we're not your normal Disney. Like, that was kind of what it was. like Enchanted did that and did it really well because they was actually still quite Disneyfied and they kind of made fun of themselves for fun. But Frozen was really when it started to be like, oh no, all this the like the love and the family values and all that stuff, that's all bad. We're gonna go modern. And that
Mm,
was a real turning point, that movie. Um, mm, that was when it became overt, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Don't like it. Don't like
No,
it.
no. But
No.
kind of like we're saying that you want the truth, and that's a lot of. I'm keep trying to point out to people that, well, not everybody. I'm not preaching this, but people who talk about like, movies have gone so haywire. I'm like, if you look back at it, it was better disguised. It was more subtle, but it was
Mhm.
always there. Like, there's things right now that we say, yeah, this is totally fine. I was like, 60 years ago, they were either illegal or they were like, why would you do that? And it's like, you don't get
Mm.
from that point to this point without anybody really realizing what happened, without there being this subtext in movies or these things put in movies or entertainment. Because when you normalize a way of thinking or a way of behaving and you see it over and over again, it just becomes, well, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? And it's like,
Yeah.
they were just better at it back then.
Yes. These days
But
they just don't know how to hide it. It's just,
no.
yeah. It's like, this is what we want to say. I'm like, that's a bad script. Okay.
Right. Out of
Yeah.
curiosity, how many scripts have you written? I know you mentioned the one with at least the one with the murder moving
Yeah.
theater. How many, like, are these like
Ooh.
feature? Have you written like feature length type things? Is that how robust they are? Or are they more like shorts or?
That one was about an hour, I
Okay.
think. Yeah, about an hour long. I've written a pantomime and performed that one, directed that one. That was
Oh,
like 2 hours. Let's
yep.
see. I wrote another play for this company. About an hour. Um, but like, yeah, I've always kind of dabbled in writing. It's kind of in um like we had a drama group at church years ago that I did a few of their things for them, and um yeah, that's basically it. I
Okay.
tried to write and direct a movie when I was 13. It didn't work out. Got very exciting, and yeah, my father was going to be the villain, and it was all very creepy, and yes, and then no. No, it didn't happen.
What the funding run out? What happened?
No, there was no funding. I was just like, I wrote it, I cast it, we were gonna start filming, and then it just kind of fell apart, as things do when you're children, I suppose. But
Mm.
yeah, everyone kind of went, oh yeah, no, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay. Oh, I did. When I was 8 years old, I directed some of my friends to perform The Wizard of Oz in class. So we did that over the space of about a month. We kept performing installments of it.
No
I
kidding.
was the Tin Man. Yeah, so that was fun. That was a
Wait,
lot of fun.
did you get all, like, did you get to put it all together and perform it for like for the parents or something, or was it was
Mhm.
just oh, we did it.
Oh no, not for the
Oh,
parents,
oh,
just
oh,
for
okay.
in class.
Just in
Yeah.
class.
So um, I was the Tin Man in this big tinfoil box, and yeah, yeah, and I made the poppies. I was very excited about my poppies. But yeah, we had all these props and things. It was really fun. Yeah,
Puppies? Puppies? What?
poppies, the poppy
Puppies?
flowers.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow. I don't know if that's a. I was like, there's only one puppy. That was Toto, right? Okay, puppies. Gotcha.
That's my accent. Go, yeah, yep.
You sure are a funny sounding American. Um,
Every so often here, someone will be like, "What was that?" I was like, "Oh, yes. Let me repronounce that properly."
when you mentioned there
Yeah.
was a play you did that you had to or a performance where you had to do it was English or American. So do you have an American
Yeah.
accent?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I need specific lines. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, what was my first one? And finally, a man who needs no introduction, starring each and every week in as Detective Dickie Dickerson in Crime Does Not Pay, and host of NWPFR's popular kiddie program, the Mr. Peanut and Petunia Pig Hour. Here's the always dashing Mr. Jake Lawrence. There we go. There's the line.
Hey, that was spot on. Spot on. I would not
Thank
have. I
you.
would not have. Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was seamless.
Yeah,
That's well done. Well done.
I need a moment usually. But yes, it's just at the front of your mouth and lots of pronouncing. Yeah.
which is so funny because like obviously I have the laziest lips ever. Like unless I do that butter do the lip exercises, my articulation is garbage. So it's interesting that like to get it to sound natural, you do the unnatural thing with the mouth, but it sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, very well done. Very well done. It's surprising almost. I mean, we got like Hugh Jackman, Tom Holland, like almost all of our talent in the recent years has come from Australia or the UK, and you guys are like, do they have class? Like if you do theater or whatever, do you have classes for that, or you just pick it up as you go?
Just have to pick it up usually. Yeah. Yeah, there was one where I was in a play called Blood Brothers, which was for a Liverpudlian accent. It's from Liverpool in England, and so we needed a dialect coach because that was a weird one. But yeah, usually you just kind of pick it up as you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I did Italian. I did a kind of Italian, a half Italian, and I had to do YouTube videos for that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this great woman who just taught me how to pronounce Italian. I was like, okay, great.
It is kind of nice when you actually feel like you're learning, even like you're not learning to speak a foreign language, but like you feel like you're learning a real world skill if you talk to, you get like you said, a voice coach or something like that they're helping you. This is how you pronounce this thing, and you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, no, I'm an expert now. Like I know how to speak this language officially with an accent.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Heck
yeah, it's like it does feel like a language. You're right. It feels like, oh yes, I'm speaking foreign.
Right. They'll understand me if I just use the accent and speak English.
I'm one of you. Yes.
Can't tell the difference. Indistinguishable. Well, no, that's the thing. I was kind of just in my head picturing. I was like, yeah, no, no trace of the accent whatsoever. Or, well, I mean, again, for you, it's just so bizarre. Like your point of reference, I say American accent. To me, it sounds like speaking without an accent, and of course, I'm guessing it's the exact same. Really, like I have to do an accent to sound American. It's like, no, you just have to stop talking different. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
No, I don't envy anyone having to do the Australian accent because it changes all the time. Like every person in Australia has a different accent. Like there's the kind of stereotypical like Paul Hogan or like Crocodile Dundee one, which yeah, I can do that. But it's a mix. There's lots of different, just random words that sometimes we'll say differently. Like either or either. I could say either of those. Or either of those at any point. Yeah.
You never know, is it?
You never know. It'll come out my mouth. Like, oh, okay. Like I've recorded a couple of audiobooks and my editor was like, okay, you've pronounced this word 3 different ways. I'm like, oh, she's like, they're all correct. Just pick one. I'm like, okay. All right, cool.
Now audiobooks, that's another, because that's a lot of work, but I mean that's pretty good. That's a pretty good gig to get that though.
Yeah, I've got 3 books on Audible, but they don't. One of them is a kid's book or a young adult's book that Australian schools use quite often. So every so often I'll get a nice little payday. But yeah, it's a labor of love, really. It's a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, just because it's got to be clean. Like you have to do all your editing, right? So if there's pops or clicks or anything, you've got to either edit those out or redo. And you don't think about how many obnoxious factors that can screw up a line until you start recording them, and then you're like, it's been 45 minutes on this one gosh darn paragraph, and it's not even about inflection. It's just this word got slobbed. This one kind of made that noise, or I swallowed and it glicked on the other. Ugh.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah. Like, oh, why did that click? Why?
Right. I don't know what happened for some reason. Like I haven't had a single, like I can't remember what they're called now, but the stupid, like the tongue clicking and things like that. But I started doing very little voiceover work myself, like just for the company that I was working for. Every time I sat down, dry mouth. Every single time, didn't matter. And I'm not nervous. I just. So what did you do to? I mean, were you just drinking water? Were you chewing gum? Like, what were you doing to keep that from happening every time?
I tried all the tricks. None of them work. Like you just gotta read and then deal with it. Like every time you sit, and you're right. You sit down in the recording studio. It's like, okay, no, my voice is gone. Okay, great. All right, just breathe. You're fine. I'm really fine. Like the best thing is just to start reading and just pretend you're doing it as a draft. Pretend you're just practicing, and then go from there.
Work itself out.
I think it's in the mind. I think it's in the mind.
That's a good call. Good call. It did make me nervous about trying to pursue. I don't know that I would have anyway, but like to try to pursue voiceover, you getting it because it's one thing for me to do it in my own little studio area, but you get one of these actual studios when you're there and they're paying money to have the time and you're sitting there and they're like, okay, everything you said, all I'm hearing is click, 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 all these. This is not ASMR. Like we need the lines clean. It's like, oh, well, give me a few hours.
Do that.
No.
Yeah, too much pressure. Like, no, my voice can't handle that. No, too much.
Yep. Well, it has been a pleasure, Eliza. Thank you so much for joining me here. So I don't know whether it, if you're down for doing this again, we'd find another thing to kind of explore. I do think regardless of whether there's a Disney version out there or if there is an update, I think revisiting like classic fairy tales is probably a good thing because again, if we are not if we, but like if all they are the older books in this new medium of video and everything, it's they may not see the light of day otherwise, or very little. So I think there's a good argument to be made for at least bringing them to light, even if people just go, oh, that sounds pretty cool, and read it for themselves. There's some merit there, but it's been a heck of a fun conversation. I greatly appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours too. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Indeed. Well, I will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Okay, cool. Oh well, everybody.